Welcome to another exciting edition of the Collar Nation Radio Show. Welcome, folks. We are the Collar Genesis. I'm the Collar Genesis, aka Collar Rumble, and we're gonna have a good show tonight. As you know, when we do these shows and everything, when I tell you that it's gonna get heated tonight, when I tell you, am I always right? When I tell you it's gonna be a knockdown, drag out, when I tell you passions will be raised, tempers will flare, and all that stuff like that. Because when you got topics like the transatlantic slave trade, the MAAFA, the ugly truth, you know it's going down tonight. You know there's gonna be tempers are gonna flare. You know people will call in tonight and get their opinions on. So stop what you're doing, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell somebody that we're on tonight. We're gonna have a good show tonight. We're talking about the transatlantic slave trade and people who are trying to rewrite history. I see this one guy caught this on TikTok. There's this white girl on TikTok going around, and I thought that the ADOS, FBA, the Pretendians, and all these other people were bad. You got white people out there absolving themselves of history by getting on TikTok and getting people to agree with them. Oh, slavery. This girl actually said slavery was started by blacks and that we benefited from slavery and all stuff like this. They're rewriting history because to absolve themselves of any guilt. Because what's the sense of having this beautiful white civilization if you got to walk around feeling guilty about it? It's all about guilt, you know. What it does is, to their credit, to the white people's credit, is it shows that they're actually human. Because in order for you to be human, have guilt, you have to have human emotions. Animals don't have guilt. Beasts don't have guilt. So the fact that the white people even try to cover up slavery tells me that they have guilt. So that means there's hope for them. That means they're actually human. Because for the longest time, we never believed white people are human. We believed they were just a spawn of devils put on the earth. So maybe that's a good sign. White people try to cover their sins out of guilt and shame. Because we was always taught that white people had no guilt or shame because they weren't human like everybody else. So that's a good sign. Next sign is we have Africans, or continental Africans, trying to cover up their role and minimalize it. Now, I've said this many times, right? I do not hold Africans to the same extent that I do Europeans in the slave trade because Africans, like I've said all the time, and I know my talking points are getting out there. Africa was destroyed for the transatlantic slave trade. Africa once had big cities like Oyo, Benin, and all these cities were big cities, right? When Europeans first came there in the 1600s. 250 years later, and also Europe was all backwater cities, just disease-ridden cities, Liverpool, Amsterdam. These were backward, disease-ridden places. 250 years later, Europe was a metropolis and Africa was a backwater that we still are suffering to this day. So you tell me who benefited from the transatlantic slave trade? It surely wasn't Africa. So we put that in proper perspective, proper perspective. That yes, Africa was complicit in that, but I think it was not because they were willing. I think they were coerced. Everything tells me that they were probably coerced. Africans were probably coerced in the slave trade. Some people benefited from it. Like I said, and I look at the African personality today. You say, why is African countries so corrupt and backwards? Because that's the easy way out. I think slavery and participating in the slave trade was just an easy way out of a situation because to oppose the Europeans usually meant that you are risk going to get killed or enslaved yourself. So therefore, the easy thing was to do was just to cooperate with the Europeans on the coast. I don't think it was anything where Africans like, oh yeah, we want to sell people, but it was like it is what it was. It was war all over the place, violence and everything. If you didn't participate in the slave trade, somebody else would, and you would enslave you. To protect yourself, your kingdom, whatever, you had to participate in it. So I put the blame in the slave trade squarely on Europeans and their demand. People don't realize this when we try to break it down to them. And I would love to have this debate. Every time I have this debate with white people, they fold and shut up. Yeah, it shows me that, wow, man, the truth is on our side. I would say like this. This is what I would say. Do you agree that America says it's an enlightened civilization? Yeah, we're enlightened civilization. That we're the American exceptionalism. Yeah, well, blah, blah, blah. That means exceptional people know right from wrong. Um, if you showed up to the coast of West Africa and they're selling human bodies, why'd you have to take them? If I'm a so-called businessman, an educated man, a law-abiding citizen, right, and I get caught with 2 kilos of heroin in my car and whatnot, I can't claim to say, well, I found the drugs on the side of the road and I decided to take them home and exchange them for money and gain monetarily. I'm still a good person. No, you're not. You committed a crime. The transatlantic slave trade was a crime against humanity. So Europeans always taking the route that, oh, we were good people and we were just, people were selling slaves. So what were you doing buying them? And then you got black people who will sit there and go along with it. Yeah, because you want to go along to get along. See, in this platform right here, we're not afraid of the white man. We're not afraid of this confrontation. We don't care about any peace deal or anything like that. We're not trying to fucking make America great again. So we let the chips fall where they may. Sometimes you got to come to the conclusion maybe the damage between the races are so far gone that it can't be repaired. And what's the next solution? Next solution. Well, the next solution would be, it's time to part ways. It's time to have that confrontation. 500 years we've been getting stomped on it, and now maybe it's time to friggin' have that serious conversation. I don't think a lot of black men want to do that. They want to sit there, oh, we want a reparations check or not. You still think that the white man's going to come through for you and protect you and be part of the civilization. No, he built his civilization in America off your death and destruction. America's only here because Africa died. Think about it. The origin of America, the blood of that was shed to make America. America was fed and drunk the blood of Africa for 300 something years. That's why it exists. Now it has no intentions of ever giving that up. To do so, you're asking a white man to commit suicide. He's going to have to all the stuff he's done, all the sins he's done, everything like that to build this perfect civilization that he brags about. You know, he is not going to give that up. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do the right thing and hand you a reparations check. He's not going to report. Now he's trying to erase the crime, and he's doing have black people doing it for him. Slavery never happened. You got black people running around. Show me the slave ship. Show me this because you want to cover up his crimes. You want comfortable, like we said the other night, the comfortable Negro. You want comfort. You don't want to face the ugly truth. The ugly truth is maybe America was never meant for us to be peaceful in this country. It was never meant for us to be. That's the ugly truth. Now you'll have your usual suspects coming here tonight. You're 1776 and you're talking about I'm American and all stuff like that. They fight with me all the time, but they know deep down in their heart I'm telling the truth. One thing I am not is a liar. Maybe the problems between black and white people are just so far gone. There's no recovering from it. That being said, now what's the next step? The next step is if black and white people are mortal enemies, how do we justify letting people who are mortal enemies govern us, rule over us, send us to war? Think about it. America's going to war with Iran. That means our worst enemy, the white American, is putting us in danger on their behalf under this banner that we're all Americans. Now we got to die for something that we didn't freaking start or create or benefit from. Is anybody else talking like this online? Am I the only one? Am I the one brave enough to say it like it is? I tell it like it is. You know, they call me Call of Thanos for a reason because I'm the only one with the will to act on this. The hardest choices require the strongest wills. Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same. And now is here. And could I say, the Call of Thanos is here. This is destiny, folks. You can dread it, you can run from it, you know, you could hide, but destiny will arrive sooner or later. And now it's here. You know, we have to stand up. Black men have to stand up and say, what do we want? Do we want the likes of a Donald Trump ruling over us? JD Vance? Are you freaking kidding me? Or is it time for a nation of our own? Or is it time for an Afghanistan? And we're pulling out all the cards, you know? I don't want to hear nothing about no African president. I heard the president of Ghana is in America. I don't want to hear about none of these people. I have no respect for none of these people. Until we have a land of our own, a nation of our own, until we get back what's rightfully ours, I don't want to hear nothing about anything. Don't tell me about Pan Africanism. Don't tell me about none of that shit. Till we have a carve out a space, till we have our own space on this earth, we call our own and whatnot. We could plant our flag. I don't want to hear nothing from anybody. And that's coming from the College Genesis. Now, all these other half-ass black people out there, you want to go follow them, go right ahead. But you know, when you come to this platform, I'm going to tell you like it is. And me, I don't care about a following. I don't give a damn about how many people I got listening to me and all this kind of stupid shit, how many super chats I get and all of that. I'm here to tell the ugly truth. You know, the truth is the truth, you know. So I'm here to tell the ugly truth. If you can't handle the truth, you got to go someplace else. So we're going to talk about that tonight, folks. We're going to have a good show, you know. We have a situation heating up here in Liberia. The government, this thug, Dumbaya, whatever his name is, that's married to a white woman, the president of the junta in Guinea, he's making provocations. And I'm saying like this. So this guy, all these guys are, you know, even Traore, all they are is a bunch of goons and thugs, you know, with military thing, and they get backed up by Russians, everything. Like the worst place in the world is fucking Africa. I'm gonna be honest with you, you know, a continent run by nothing but goons and thugs, low IQ, fourth grade educated thugs. And you got people in the West. Oh yeah, blah blah blah. I don't have any respect for any of these fucking countries. None of them. I have no respect. Don't ask me to respect any of these Africans. You know, I don't respect Africa at all. How is it you got a continent that says it has all this wealth, says it has all this, and you see this level of depravity and poverty? I watch this thing of that guy, such and such on timeout. What's his name? The light skinned dude. Yo, I had no idea Nigeria had an orphan problem. Now, these are the same people that get up online talking about Black America's problems, right? One thing Black America don't have is orphans. You know what an orphan is? That means your mom and your pops abandoned you. You have no family, no nothing. You're orphan. One thing you say about Black America, we don't have that. Now, we have some people in foster care or we have single mothers and everything, but orphans, and there was literally hundreds of them lined up, their young children abandoned. And this is done by Nigerian men who sleep with women, have sex with them, and the women, sometimes they can't take care of these kids, so they put them on the street, let them survive. That's a complete breakdown in civilization. When you cannot take care of your children, that's a breakdown in civilization. But that's the people. We're supposed to be emulating. Carla, man, don't you want to practice Ifa? You know, whatever the fuck they do. No, I don't want to practice Ifa. Don't you want to do Ubuntu, Carla? No, the fuck I don't. You know, until Africa proves to me that it's civilized and is worthy of respect, it's not going to get me. I'm sorry. It don't work like that. I don't give a damn about what your fucking feelings are. I'm not going to lower my standards and beliefs just to make somebody else feel good about themselves in a miserable fucking life. And I'm looking at this thing like, oh my God, man, so many, Nigeria has so much poverty and whatnot, you know? And I'm saying to myself, but these people always bragging about their degrees and they spread lies about them coming to America being high earners and nothing's verified. Nothing's verified. The thing about Africans doing well didn't start until social media. Just like the idea of black women being most educated, that's another lie that they push on social media. And people run with it. They weaponize it. Oh, look, we're doing so well. No, the fuck you're not. So, yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight, folks. But we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade, the MAAFA. I've often said, and I'm proving my thesis, right? I'm proving my point. I believe that the transatlantic slave trade, I believe Europeans showed up on the coast right in the 1400s, the late 1400s, 1500s, right? Initially, Europeans on the coast were doing legitimate trade. The Portuguese, the Dutch, they had legitimate trade. But this says something that I'm going to say something very controversial. During this time period, the concept of race did not exist. There were Portuguese men who were marrying African women on the coast and had offspring. The whole culture, what we call a Creole or culture, existed on the coast of West Africa. West Africa and coastal West Africa was a Creole culture. It was not indigenous. Voodoo is a Creole religion. It's not indigenous to Africa. The Calabar, that was a Creole culture of British and other people lived there, along with Negropeans and all these other people. The Negropean population on the coast was a dominant culture phenomenal on the coast of West Africa. Places like Lagos, places like Dahomey, Leopoldville, Luanda. These were all Creolish cultures, right? That means they weren't African, they weren't European. But that middle culture is how Africa became compromised. You understand? If you have people out there, and a lot of these people don't notice, there was a lot of Africans who were taken to Europe by their fathers that was traded and they were educated and Christianized and baptized. One of the main things that allowed the Portuguese to penetrate Angola was the Catholic Church in baptizing certain Africans and them spreading Christianity. That was a way into Africa. So by the time it was all said and done, Africa had no immune system to this outside force. And as the slave trade grew, you know, just collect the dots. But when I hate when people act like that Europeans just showed up and black people just said, "Yeah, we're gonna start selling our people." No, there was a transition period with the culture shift over like a 200-year period of time, say between the 1400s and the 1700s, right? There was a cultural dynamic on the coast of West Africa. You know, the culture of West Africa was not the same. The culture of people who had contact with the Europeans was not the same as indigenous African cultures. Indigenous African cultures were the ones that ended up in slavery. The culture of the people who lived on the coast and everything who adopted the Europeans' values and ways were not who were the ones who helped facilitate the transatlantic slave trade. So the people who talk about slavery is African. No, slavery is not African. That was not in Africa at all. You know, hi, am I Jerome Smith? But that's just the truth. That's the gist of me studying this. I'm telling the truth. That's why you react the way you do. You got Bebe Rodriguez here. She don't want to know the truth, but the bottom line is that is the truth. I studied Calabar. I studied Dahomey. I even studied parts of Liberia. Liberia. Do you know that King Peter and some of the Bassa kings on the coast of here, Liberia, were educated in Europe? And so when they were educated in Europe, they became strong proponents of the slave trade. They went against their own people. You know, they went against the values of the African value system. So this idea that Africans sold us and say no, it was Negropeans, that studied that participated in the transatlantic slave trade, and you still see evidence of this today. You know, Lagos was never really an African settlement. Lagos was a hodgepodge of Portuguese, British, eventually Brazilians, and all these other people, and Creoles that came back and whatnot, and just different types of people and whatnot. It was never a truly African society, indigenous. Dahomey, that was basically a French culture. Guinea-Bissau, some of the Portuguese royalty, nobility married into Guinea-Bissau. There were noblemen who married into. The Portuguese were known to marry into African societies, as to gain a foothold on the continent. As these people became more Christianized and stuff like that, that's how it didn't happen overnight. It happened over a period of time. And then when you get people there and they start bringing people alcohol. See, they use alcohol, drunkenness, and partying. Same like they're doing right now. In Asia, they use opium to dope the Chinese up so they could get a foothold into China. They couldn't get into China. So what they use? They use opium to drug the Chinese. In West Africa, they use gunpowder, guns, and alcohol and liquor to dupe the Africans. But people like Bebe Rodriguez don't say Africans bar traffic there. No, that's not true. That's not true. Not true at all. What happened was when the coastal people and also the coastal people in Africa that were Negropeanish, they allowed the Europeans to start building forts on the continent. That's how they got a foothold on the continent. They allowed them to first build forts to trade ivory and stuff like that. And then when the demand for slave came, well, they were so entrenched in the region, they were like, okay, the slave trade just got out of hand because there was nobody saying, no, this ain't right. Because the people who were facilitating it had no connection to Africa or whatever like that. They didn't see themselves as, they saw themselves as black Frenchmen. The French have always tried to do that. They turn their subjects and their people into black Frenchmen. Just like you had black Spaniards, you had black Portuguese, you had black Englishmen. And to be honest with you, you have black Americans. You're the black or whatever the country or your slave master is. You're the black version of it. You're a black American. You're a black Brit. You're a black Portuguese. You're a black Frenchman. These are the people that facilitate the slave trade. Not friggin' culturally people who are culturally African. So I don't know what Bebe Rodriguez is talking about, Who knows what she's talking about, But we're gonna get down tonight. And like I told you, this topic is going to have a lot of people upset, passions will be raised, tempers are gonna be flaring and whatnot as we talk about the transatlantic slave trade. Folks, we're going to get down tonight. We are going to get down. When I tell you we're going to get down, man, I really do mean we're going to get down. I don't know what else to tell you, you know. But the thing is, now the problem is you got Africans running around. Oh, they were traumatized. Like Godfrey, that was the stupidest thing. Slavery affected the entire race. Know why? Because the takeaway from slavery was the black race sold itself out. So therefore, the world is naturally suspicious of Africans. Look, the transatlantic slave trade has the world looking at Africa side eye. So people like Godfrey say, "Oh yeah, I wasn't traumatized." You're going through trauma because the image of Africa. You know, other people didn't see their people coming here. The only people that came to America and that was put in chattel slavery exchange came from the continent of Africa. You share the same race as the people that were put in chains. So you're ever locked to it. There's no, oh, my ancestors. No, no. Your ancestors were those people on the slave ship. Still, Africans don't understand that. You're whatever stupid tribe you think you're part of, which really annoys me, you know? Like Brody, oh, Kyle, you can't everything based on race. Well, no, this it is, you know? My identity is shaped by the MAAFA, the transatlantic slave trade. That's who I am. At least I admit it. I'm not going to throw my ancestors under the bus to appease nobody. That's what people want to do. There's this thing now where Europeans are trying to wipe the slate clean. Forget that the most horrible thing in human history existed for 200-300 years across the Atlantic. So they want to appear in Africa now as white saviors, like this never happened. No, white people are forever going to be tainted by what their ancestors did, and black people are going to be tainted by what they did to us as a race. There's no getting out of this. That's all black people versus all white people. You know, that's the elephant in the room. Because white people in their mind, they boast about, like I had this one, I saw this one Irish girl on TikTok. Now, Irish didn't do shit. They were shithole people, right? They came here, the British had them starving when I in the potato famine. But she was like, well, we come from a race of conquerors, that's why we conquered you and enslaved you. So so they white people will take use that as a boast about slavery, that we conquered the black man and stuff like that. So when they see a black man in their country, right, they're not looking at, oh, he's a African American slave descendant. They see that black skin and they automatically, you're a subordinate race because we enslaved Africa, Europeans enslaved Africans, Africans did not enslave Europeans. So they think they're superior to all black people. What part of that don't you fools understand? You got Africans really think that they got some special relationship with white people. Oh, I was a slave or not, yeah. Like you had maybe Afrodamus. So they talk about, yeah, we were just businessmen on the coast. Like I told you, there's way too many African businessmen, way too many people call themselves businessmen. I'm an African businessman. No, nigga. Y'all need to stop becoming businessmen and run out and get out there, get a tool, get yourself a toolbox, get yourself a hard hat, pick up a hammer or a cutlass. Y'all niggas need to start working. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing about Africans fucking yeah, they don't understand power, DK. It's a power dynamic, you know. Europeans enslaved the Africans and made their wealth. The Fortune 500 companies you see right now. I'll show you right now. Companies that I even work for, like Aetna, AIG, Lehman Brothers, all these people got their money in the transatlantic slave trade. They financed ships, they insured ships. The whole banking, insurance, finance, shipping, everything was built around the mercantile transatlantic slave trade. Stuff you see right now. Wall Street was based on the transatlantic slave trade, you know? So they benefited from the destruction of the black race. Now, you want to sit here and tell me that you're on equal footing with this white man? Africa has no industries, no nothing. I was reading the other day how it said like 35% of all the GDP in Africa goes to servicing debt. The World Bank and the IMF make so much money. So now after everything, after slavery, colonial, everything, Africa can't develop because 30%, sometimes even 50% of all the money they generate has to service external debt. But to tell the African everything's all right. He can't even enjoy his own country. He got to go to another country just to have a decent way of life, but everything's all right. That's the African fool, you know? And people always tell me, oh, Kala, don't you want to be in Africa? No, the fuck I don't. I'm here right now. And I'm like, yo, look, I love being here and whatnot, but I know I am a distinct being from the African. I know I am, you know? I hate to say that. That pains me to say it, but I just don't get it. I try to reason with them and talk to them and stuff like that. But some people are just, just, I just, poverty, slavery, oppression is all they know, and it's all they think they can know. It's very easy for Africa to get out of this stuff, but they don't have the mind. They don't know who their fucking enemies are, you know. And then we try to tell them that. You try to tell them how the world works, when they gonna fight with you. Oh no, no, blah blah blah. So it is what it is. What's up, Eddie Thorne? What up, DK? How y'all doing? Thanks for joining me tonight. We're having frank and candid discussions. You know, yeah, Japan for 250 years, as old as the United States during the Tokugawa period. 250 years, Japan was closed. 250 years, Japan had no outside influence, and they was able to select things and articles from outside. They knew what was going outside, but the outside world didn't influence. So they built up an internal culture, a strong internal culture, homogeneous, like 250 years. And in 1850s, when the West came again, they were ready for them. You know, yeah, Africans invite people in. There's even fools here in Liberia talking about, oh, let's give white people citizenship. Okay, I'm looking at what's going on in South Africa. This Bozo, whatever it's Bozo, he's telling South Africans that they gotta let white people succeed and create their own province and all this kind of stupid shit, that we gotta get rid of black economic power and whatnot, like, so you're gonna come and take the side of a minority group in a country, you know? That's okay. That's why I said I can't fuck with MAGA, Trump, none of these motherfuckers, man. They really shocked me, how they acted. That's just outright racist. And the reason why they're racist like that, because they got power. They think they got power. But they're making a serious mistake. They're making a serious mistake because they think South Africa and black people are just going to roll over. Then again, you just never know with Africans sometimes, In fact, they even, Sarah Ramaphosa, even basically entertaining somebody like Trump, You saw the way Trump was just talking to them at the White House and whatnot. I would have got up and said, okay, goodbye. Goodbye, and got up. Why is a black man always so fucking needy? He don't have any strength. Look at this. It's like God dang, man. And these are the people that always end up with governments and in power. Even though it's that somebody like me never ends up in power. I don't give a damn if we gotta fucking starve. Your pride becomes it for anything. So I do admire Iran. Iran standing his ground. They got back down. you know. So I admire Iran. They're standing their ground, you know. But until we rectify what happened to the black race in the transatlantic slave trade, don't tell me about colonialism. You know, I notice every time I talk to continental Africans, colonialism. Look, colonialism is the reason why you have an education. Colonialism is the reason why you have cities that you screwed up. So don't act like colonialism was all that damn bad. You know, I hate when Africans compare. They just put it all together. Slavery and colonialism. No, slavery was one thing. Colonialism was another. It's not even on any sort of right. What damaged Africa wasn't colonialism. It was that horrible transatlantic slave trade. That was a two thing. Something that Africans are trying to erase. That's something Europeans are trying to erase. And what's going to happen is if they succeed, the slave descendants are going to be completely isolated on the world stage with no voice. Because Africans, the only thing Africans want to do is benefit. Say, oh yeah, we lost a lot of manpower on that. What the fuck? You lost manpower? It's all about you guys. That's what Africans think. Europeans should pay us back for things. You got some Africans even say that the wealth that Black Americans generate and everything belongs to them. It's a balls these people got. You know, we ain't got a stitch of land in Africa. We have no oil fields. We have no gold fields. We have no diamond mines. We have nothing on the African continent. But the African tells saying that Black America's wealth and achievement, which we're the only group of Black people that got any sort of wealth. Africa's in debt. You know, anything generated in Africa, 30, 35, 40% of it goes to servicing debt. We're the only debt-free Black people on the fucking planet. And we have a spending power of $1.6 trillion. That's just spending power. So we're the only chance Africa really has. The Black race really has. A white man did his job on Africa, right? That debt thing is real. You know, and you would think you always think, but then again, Europeans did do a lot of debt forgiveness over the years, restructuring and stuff like that. But now Europeans are like, you know something, man, I gotta pay this shit. I saw Ghana sent an ambassador to Belgium, some freaking they're sitting down with this Belgian chick. Imagine that you come in hat in hand. This chick like a freaking dyke. He's like, yeah, we're trying to get service in y'all debt. Is there any country Ghana is not in debt to? I was like, God damn. Belgium? That piece of shit country? Belgium? Are you kidding me? Lord have mercy. And it's a sad situation, you know. Most of revenue you do, you know, in Africa got to service debt. And then what's left, you gotta try to feed the population, you know, like that. You know, it's yeah, Ghana is a running joke. Lewis will be up here later telling us about all the wonders of Ghana, man. But dude, man, that debt thing, man, is no joke. How you gonna have debt? You can't get nowhere. You can't get nowhere. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We say we gotta adopt their so-called culture. No, I don't think so. No, the fuck up. We know the fuck we done it. You know, we don't have to speak Shnaga Laga Laga. You know, yeah. I mean, if I didn't know an African, he wasn't in fucking a foreign country begging for a handout, an opportunity or whatnot. You know, I always wanted to see one black strong country with a middle class, some country we could connect to as equals. There isn't none. There's not one country in Africa with a solid first world middle class. In some countries that do better than others, Botswana, Namibia, but there's when you really scratch the surface, there's still that fucking poverty shit, you know? And that poverty shit is destroying the soul of. There's no reason why Africa should not have a middle class, you know? Yeah, I'm sure he does. He probably say, "Oh, geez, I guess I miscalculated." You know, I mean, it's like, how do you show your face every time you see African leaders show up around the world? It's only because the European countries put them up. They always gather them together. They'll have Japan will say, "Okay." They never have bilateral meetings with any European or Asian power. They'll just bring them over there. So, okay, we'll pay for the transport of all 54 heads of state of Africa. They put them up in a hotel. You know, heads of state gets to travel for free. Well, sometimes they travel on their own, but they get there and they're getting fed. They have the dinner going on and they get the hobnob with big officials. It's just so fucking embarrassing, you know? But, you know, they take photo ops and the photo goes back to their country and to the African leaders, that's proof that they're in charge because power in Africa does not come from the people. It comes from the colonial the power structure outside of Africa. Who does people outside of Africa think is in charge? That's what goes on. All the folks I made something to drink. I'm thirsty because I'm getting going in tonight. Yep, it's all about power. Lord power. After 500 years, we don't understand power. I don't know what it is, right? Every time I hear people talk, you know, whatever it is, you know, it's nothing about us gaining power. You know, I have yet to hear anything from anybody, whoever's plan it is, and everything. But I got my good brother Jonathan Miller. He's a good one. He knows how to make bullshit sound. He knows how to make bullshit sounds good. Like, oh yeah, Kala. I'll say we don't have no power. Yes, we do, Kala. Blah 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 blah. Nigga, please. But Jonathan's good though, man. Yeah, he should have been a good lawyer because he knows how to bullshit. He knows how to talk shit. There is no power dynamic in Black America. If you are gaining power, you know that's what it's all about, right? Then what are you doing? Every other civilization throughout the beginning of time, you know, in the caveman time, it's always about power. You're fighting over hunting grounds. You're fighting over territory. You're fighting over women. You're fighting over what land soils the best, right? It's always about gaining power. And those who are in charge deli out and reward those, have reward and punishment. 500 years, the black man in America has no reward for anybody in this community, and he has no means of punishing anybody because we don't control anything. But then you're going to come here telling me about 1776 and you're get the fuck out of here, you know? This is what I'm talking about. The whole idea of America is we're powerless, you know? Oh, please. You ain't got no fucking power, Nax. Stop it, We got power in the black American identity. Yeah. Yeah, we got power to fucking the whole world. We're like the world's laughing stock, you know? Matter of fact, I'm in Liberia. I don't even tell them I'm black American anymore because it's embarrassing. Black America has no organizing body, he has no military, he has no central banks. He has no sovereignty. He can't send no troops nowhere. He can't defend himself. He can't do nothing. I saw a video the other day. This fucking ugly female cop in Alabama slammed the freaking boy, a 25-year-old kid, on the car. He's sitting there screaming in pain, and and that's in Alabama. I mean, and something goes through me, right? And she tased him. While she had him down, she tased him and said, "You think you tough? You think you tough?" Humiliated the boy. The boy's crying, "Please stop, please stop." And I'm saying the fact that they can get away with this shit in 2026, please don't tell me I no goddamn power. I don't want to hear it. We ain't got no damn power, So the bottom line is this, the fact that people can get away with that shit, walk away, fucking get away with that shit and whatnot, laugh about it. And then the comment section saying, yeah, man, give that lady a raise, all stuff like that. This kid was just changing his tire in his car. Good kid. In front of his grandmother's house, But because he's black, we're not. And then get this, a couple weeks before that, right? There was this old white man that was on medication, and I think he had a seizure or something, and the cop, I think he didn't come to a complete stop, whatever like that. He was having a fit. He was trying to get so he could take his insulin or something like that, and the cop, he was a guy who was like 80 years old. He's like, I'm sorry, officer. And the cop pulled him over. He goes, did you see me flagging you down to stop? He said, oh, no, I didn't. The cop arrested this 80-year-old man, right? And the lady was coming there because she told him, pull over, I'm going to come and get your man, his daughter or whatever like that. Anyway, it was all videotaped. The media got a hold to that, Yeah, and I'm not embarrassed to be black American. I'm embarrassed to be part of some of you Negroes. You see what happened in Houston, Nagmeezy? Yeah, I'm embarrassed, sitting over here, seeing people look at that. And we'll see what happened in Daytona, Florida. Negroes destroyed the freaking beach when our first day of spring break. Destroyed. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Well, I'm over here, and these are black people too, and they fucking act civilized, you know. So we got to get our shit together in America. It's embarrassing. You know, that other people come into the country not act civilized, and we don't. You know, maybe you should go back to America and act and be a role model. Maybe that would help. Anyway, the people, the guy basically, um, when the media got a hold to that case, they know ain't nobody shitting on the beaches. We got world class beaches here, you know. You take a video of like 20, 25 years ago when people were doing that shit, the country was in chaos. Now the country's in order right now. The country is really thriving right now. Infrastructure, everything, roads being paved, everything, overpasses being built. It's really nice here, really nice. I'm having a good time. I'm loving it. I'm 2 weeks in, and I got 4 more weeks left, 4 or 5 more weeks left. I don't want to leave. That's how much I love it here. Seeing these beautiful women walking up the street every day and whatnot. Nobody wearing bonnets, nobody out of shape, and some of them wearing Muslim garbs and whatnot, head to toe. Women looking beautiful, people are civilized, everything like that. Talking in different, some of them talking like different languages from the interior. So like that's a beautiful place. Anyway, this guy pulled. Anyway, the media got a hold to that, right? And they were basically ripping this cop. How dare you arrest this old man? Blah blah blah. He was no threat to you. Blah 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 blah. And I've said to myself, but if that was an old black man, then I'm like, yeah, good job, officer. Yeah, but that's what you're dealing with in America. That's what you're dealing with. And you can't do nothing about it because the average black man is a fucking coward. You know, I mean, even if you can't do nothing about it, right? If you can't do nothing about it, you don't have to fucking accept that shit. You know, no, I don't accept that shit. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, America has a lot of fucking problems. You know, I'm gonna say be like, oh yeah, what a great my country, tis of thee, bullshit, whatever like that. It is what it is. Sweet land of liberty, that's bullshit. You know, even if it is, I don't believe it. You know, it could be a land of liberty, it could be the greatest country the world's ever seen, but the bottom line to the black man, me, I don't see that shit. I see it for what it is. I see it for a country that fucking blames us for all its fucking problems. You know, everybody like, oh, black man did this, black man did that. You know, you got your fucking women turned against us. They got a youth turned against us. They got fucking niggas turned against each other. You know, you never see black men getting along when I have a conversation, whatever like that. Everybody wants to fight each other. You know, that's the hell you have living in fucking white devil's land. So I said, when I'm coming here, talk to brothers, man, black people, you know, here in this country, everybody's on the same page. Everybody's so peaceful, you know. Go to America, everybody wants to fight. Everybody wants to fucking argue all the time. Just fucking tiring. But we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade, folks. This is the topic of tonight. You know, look, I got to put down America. I'm sorry. I'm not going to friggin' yeah, well, I'm not gonna. I only talk about Charlotte, North Carolina, because Richard Call was like, "Oh, Charlotte." Look, don't tell me about Charlotte. I say because he was putting down Liberia and talking about Charlotte. You know, the people in Charlotte. Charlotte got a lot of poverty in Charlotte. There's a lot of black people there that doing really. There's a black middle class there, but I know for a fact of the matter, there's a lot of extreme poverty in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's one part of the city that looks like it's doing good, but there's a whole section of Charlotte, the old Charlotte, that was left behind. I know that for a fact. And to be perfectly honest with you, right? There's when I look over here in Liberia, Sierra Leone, some of the people in those rural parts of the South, they ain't too far from the people who live in West Africa. The standard of living and everything ain't that far apart. Really. People in some of these areas in America surviving on $1 a day, you know, living hand to mouth and shit like that, you know. Well, I know they're doing better, but I'm saying the fact of the matter is, you know, I'm not never going to compare Liberia to America, but let's not act like it's all gravy in America. You know, I look at places like Gary, Indiana, Detroit, Chicago, the crime, the violence here. I don't hear no gunshots over here. I don't see nobody getting killed. You know, I don't see nobody getting killed or shot or stabbed. So that means a lot. So there's peace over here. I could walk right now out in the middle of the night, walk down the road, and I can know nothing's gonna happen to me. Can't do that in America. That's the truth. And I realize that the reason why it has because you're living in proximity to the worst fucking people on the fucking planet, the white American. The white American, the culture of America is the reason why black people are doing that. If you take away white America, white Americans and that culture, the culture they create for black people. In other words, in order for them to be white, that means everything's perfect, line, even though it's a lie, they got just as much degeneracy, if not more, than black America. You got to have a group of people where you outsource all your problems to. You know, all the problems of America is centered in the black community, right? Our music, you know, everything we do, we put out there. It's always got to be about gangster shit, crime, everything like that. Their culture, yeah, they'll have gangsters, stuff like that, but they also got fine movies and stuff like that. They have a diverse thing. You don't automatically think of when you think of black people, black movie or black culture, it's crime, the streets, the grit, and everything like that. There's a whole balance there. There's no balance in Black America. You know, they just shit on us when I shit, which is shit culture like this. You know, no, I don't. I'm not saying Black Americans move over here and stuff like that. Maybe it's too late for that. Maybe it's too late for that. Maybe you just have to stick it out in America. I'm just being honest with you. You know, I'm just being honest with you. You know, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't want a lot of Black people in America coming over here. You know, I just don't. You know, I just think Black people in America just, I don't know, it's ruined. I think the only place that can hold Black America is America. You know, I just think that, you know, we're just too toxic. Now, some of us who are civilized that could do stuff, yeah, you could come to Africa, Asia, and get along. But the masses of Black people in America, no, you got to keep them there. You know, they got to work that shit out. You got hoods to rebuild. You got Detroit. You got Gary. You got St. Louis. You got Los Angeles. You got all these places. Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta. You know, all these places you can rebuild and whatnot. When Black people always act like we're getting regentrified. You know, I can never understand that regentrification thing. You know, there's this one video going around, DK, where this Black woman. Let me see if I can find the video. Let me see if I can find it. She's saying, and like I said, she's one of these hood Keishas. You know, like I said, the hood Keishas right now, they're activists now. You know, yeah, they're active. They're watching social media. They're getting involved in the community politics. Um, she was like, she said they bought Trader Joe's in Harlem. I'm not paying really attention to Harlem, right? She said these white people just bought this these buildings in Harlem, and they're gonna have these condominiums there. She said we gotta stop this. So she said I'm calling all the YNs and everything like that. Start busting off some caps to scare them off. That's what we divulged into in 2026. You got people talking about busting caps off to keep developers are coming into Harlem. Yo, we're gonna be priced out. We're gonna be like, yeah, that's what it is. We didn't want Harlem. Harlem was prime real estate. We didn't understand what we had. We did not understand what we had. You're right there, right above the richest financial district on the fucking planet. Harlem they should have been an extension of Black Wall Street in Harlem. And we should have on trading floors, all that stuff like that, financial districts in Harlem, 125th Street. Now we're losing Harlem. We lost it, you know. Now we want to freaking we're gonna rise up. We're gonna scare them off. I'm just gonna find this stupid video where this chick is talking. Let me see if I can find this video. And that's what you have right now, you know. You know that what she said. The YNs are gonna be her soldiers. Let me tell you something. These females, all these YNs you see, technically, the Pookies and all that like that, they're read by Black women. Black women, they're the foot soldiers of these single mother Keishas that run these communities. There ain't no Black men there. They got their YNs and their thugs and their super thugs and like that. That's what it is. Now they're basically like, damn, we'll lose now since the middle class Black people have moved out. They're left by themselves, and they're like, that's the way they respond to it. We're gonna handle. We're gonna use violence to keep the gentrifiers out. You know. I mean, I'm not hating on Black American women, and don't come on my platform saying that shit because I will kick you out of my platform, and you'll never talk to my show again. I'm not talking about Black. My sister's a Black American woman, fool. You know, so fuck you. You know, I'm talking about these fucking hood rat Keishas. Now keep saying it. If you don't like it, get the fuck off my platform. But keep fucking saying it. I'm gonna fucking say that. No, you ain't no Black woman. Get your faggot ass on my show. I'm sick and tired of these niggas up here. Oh, Carly, I'm saying what the fuck needs to be said. Sick of these niggas come up here talking like you want to intimidate me, nigga. You fucking crazy? What fuck you think you talking to? I talk about these fucking bitches, the ones in the hood that's doing all this destructive shit in our community. That's the fuck I'm gonna keep talking about her. Now the decent black women, all that is doing their thing, sisters I love. But I ain't gonna, I know how to distinguish between hood rats and fucking decent black women. I don't believe I saved. I can't believe I didn't save that fucking video. I know I ain't stupid, you know. I know I saved that video, man. I was just like, really? Hold up. Anyway, that's what it was. But it was really a thing. I was like, okay, so we drove the black man out of the community. We drove the black man out, the black, straight, heterosexual black man out. Now he's saying, you know, "Yeah, okay, you don't want us in the community. We're taking our hands off." Now she's saying, now we gotta come back here. What's this we shit now? Every time you look around, it's those type of sisters said that they don't need black men. They don't need a damn man. They're independent. They're strong women. They're independent. So when the real men go, now she's like, we're gonna have to start getting these pookies and whatnot to start busting off caps. I'm like saying to myself, so you gotta get the pookies now because you can't get real black men to come in there and handle the situation because you're gonna push them away. So we're gonna get the pookies to go out there and start busting off caps to try to scare them. Let me tell you something, those guys ain't gonna go nowhere. You know, you're talking about prime real estate. They're not going anywhere. They're coming there and they're gonna build that shit, you know, because we let Harlem go. We didn't think it was important for it to go, you know. Well, I don't look. I'm just saying like this: as a country, we're not, you know, it's I'm Eddie. I'm here right now, you know, and to be perfectly honest with you, you know, I don't see a whole lot, you know. I mean, it's hard to describe, right? When I'm walking around the hood in black, I'm not going to compare Liberia to black working class or middle America. No, I can't do that. But when some go to some hoods in black America, right? And I come here, I don't see a whole lot of difference in what the kids wear and what they have and stuff like that. The cars they drive. Everybody has cars here. Everybody got a house with heat, with AC units, flat screen TVs and whatnot. You know, people going out to the bars and clubs every night. Tell me what they're doing in America that they're not doing over here. Everybody's in a club on Friday and Saturday nights, you know, or church on Sundays. They're doing the same thing. There is not that much difference between what goes on in West Africa, Africa in general, and most of the parts of Black America. There's not that much difference. Stop deluding yourself. Black America hasn't done anything in 30 something years. You go to a club every weekend, you party, you watch movies on your flat screen TV, you watch your Netflix. They're doing the same fucking thing over here. You know, you get your beer, your brew, sit around playing cards. They're doing the same goddamn thing over here. What progress is made? Same thing in America. Progress Black America made. You know, yeah, we got more money than them, of course. You live in America, you gotta have more money. But as far as the lifestyle, I don't see what's the big. I don't see what if you go to people's house, you got furniture, you got shower, everything. It's my house, it's all decked out. I got a fucking two showers, everything like that. Gourmet kitchen, refrigerator, fucking nice everything. No, it's not the same as my house in America. No, it's not on that level, but it's nice. I got chandeliers hanging in the living room. It's really nice. Nice furniture, dining room set. So tell me what the hell is so spectacular about fucking America? I don't see it. Wifey cooked me some fucking jollof rice today. That shit was delicious, man. I ate every bit of it. So I had jollof rice for 2 days. So she puts jollof, and she has chicken. She had the sausage, the beef, and shrimp. So they put all the four meats in there with the rice, the spice, and the mixed vegetables. All that shit was delicious. You know. So I don't see what people are talking about. What's so spectacular about America. And I just like seeing young people. Young people taking care of themselves. I see young people out there know how to handle their business. They get into KK, they drive into town, come back and whatnot. They spend the day out in town and whatnot. Like wow. You can put your son or daughter in the KK. He can go out and go around town and he come back alive. Time to look around and keep seeing somebody getting shot and killed in America. Before I left, man, I was like, damn. It was like two shootings right in my area of Virginia Beach. The fucking dumb Negroes and whatnot. Town center, Virginia Beach, the epitome. Town center is only like what year town center was created? 20 years old. Town center is 20 years old, right? That's where I met Mark Blanton at. Mark Blanton from Real South Africa, Town Center, Virginia Beach. Nice bars, nice nightlife. They got the Yard House there. They got a lot of nice bars and whatnot. And they got a couple of clubs there and whatnot. But it's like a real trendy. You got Ruth's Chris there, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. They got what else they got there? I mean, it's just really, really nice. They got the big park in the middle of the place, right? They got PF Chang's, whatnot. Just a whole bunch of trendy, a lot of shopping districts and whatnot. Retail, really nice. It was just like it was just a patch of woods, and they made that the town center. It was like 4 or 5 square blocks. Why I'm telling you, I'm looking on the news right before I'm leaving. All of a sudden, Dequarius, whatever the fuck his name is, right? Shot somebody, arrested for attempted murder or whatever like that. The dude lived when I shot him outside. I said, what time was it? This happened 2 a.m. in the morning, Sunday morning. I'm like, yo, club let out 2 a.m. in the America, 2 a.m. in the morning. That's what happened. Negroes probably fighting each other in the club. And whatnot. Next thing you know, most dangerous time I work clubs. The most dangerous time when you do a club is not when you work inside the club. Is when the club opens and the club closes. That's when shit happens. And you're not safe, really. When you do club work, you are not safe until you get to your car, until you get home. Not even, look, I've seen shit happen where people got followed, right? Followed to their house or whatever like that, and they get shot at. You are not safe until you get to your house and you get in bed. That's how it is when you work club security. You're oh, good night, everybody leaving. That's when shit breaks out. That's when all hell breaks loose. When people are leaving and stuff like that, the lights come on, shit like that. That's when all shit breaks out. Just the years of experience. Yeah, a lot of people there's a lot of opportunity in America, right? But the thing is though, these people are definitely like my friend Naya is here right now. He's here on business because he got a property. He's had his property for a while. In the REI area that's on the Robertsville Highway. And he's building it into a fucking Liberians like building these big houses. And he's building like 2 floors. The first floor he's gonna do for Airbnb. The second floor is gonna be restricted for him when he comes to Liberia. So there's a lot of Liberian Americans that come to Liberia, and they be putting a lot of money in building their properties up and everything like that from the money they make in America. So that's what they do. I got no interest in that, but I don't think it's a. I don't know. If I guess if you're gonna retire in like 3 years, that's fine, right? But I have no intention of ever retiring. I'll be working till I'm fucking 90 years old. So if you got a retirement, whatever like that, you got a nice pension, and you say that's what a lot of people do. They spend their best years in America and they come back here, when they're older. And a lot of times, man, they do good. You're in your 60s when now you're still kind of young. You got years left, and they come over here, they build a school, they build an academy, they build something they open up a business, and they live their life. But yeah, but Black Americans, for the most part, they don't have that escape. It's going to be so much harder in the future to retire in America. You know how hard it's going to retire in America? It's going to be very, very hard in the future. Why do you think there's so many white Americans that are leaving America and Black people don't understand this? There's so many white Americans that go to places like Mallorca, Spain. They go to Italy. They go to Belize. They go to the Philippines, everything like that. So there's people going all over the world because the cost of living in America is so freaking high in retirement. Only Black people in America being like they're stuck, in their retirement years. So when I deal with retirement people, and I'm saying to myself, I look at what people are paying for rent and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, they barely can make it. They're living on subsistence and whatnot. And I hate seeing older Black people live like that. I want to improve the lives of older Black people in America. They're living on subsistence. They're living on basically poverty, and they're generating money. If the average person, retirement person, collecting Social Security, is making about in Social Security is making about 18. And it was a 1980 coup, bro, in Liberia. We saw it. Everybody saw it. You can't rewrite history on this channel. About 817. Most middle class people retire and make about $1,800 a month, right? $1,800 a month, right? In retirement, whatever retirement, Social Security. That's just Social Security. But a lot of times people got pensions, 401ks, an annuity, or something like that will probably almost like add like 30-40%. So you got talking about through retirement, or sometimes people still work part-time, whatever like that. And a lot of people can make like about a good $3,000 a month in their retirement. If you go to Africa on that, you are friggin' in the upper echelons class. You in the upper echelons class. Because the only thing you need really in Africa to live, you need a vehicle and about $2,500 a month, and you're good. That'll cover your rent, groceries, expenses, everything, plus money left over. So, but in America, I really do not see how people are going to make it in the future. Now, if you got Section 8, a lot of senior centers got rent controls and Section 8 and stuff like that. But as the government is starting to cut these programs, Section 8, and give them to illegal aliens, like they have it in Maine, people are supposed to get government subsidized, state subsidized housing, and the state of Maine decided to give them to all these Somali migrants and whatnot. That's where they had all these migrants that came from Mexico, Somali. They put them in there instead. So the average person in America, you ain't gonna have a chance because there's a housing shortage in America because of the millions of people that came here across the border. So it is what it is. I don't see how people in the future are going to be able to retire in America. With the rent prices and stuff like that, the cost of food, groceries, and everything like that is getting out of hand in America. No, I don't know. Well, the Africans got a good idea, man, because because I know at a certain amount of time, I know a lot of Africans, Liberians, they just come back to Liberia one night. They're like, fuck it. They get priced out of America. They get tired of paying all that. They're like, okay, I got a house. But a lot of times they already have house already built. All they need to do is just renovate it. You can go to city builders and have a house rebuilt from the inside out for not much or nothing. Like good $3,000, you can renovate your whole fucking house. You know, new paint, new flooring, everything like that. You know, I know plenty of people did it. And you got a house, property, everything like that. You ain't worried about rent, none of that shit. All you do is pay your electricity and your water bill. You know, here. You know, so that's an option. But most black people in America, they don't want to do that. They want to die in America. They're going to die broken, impoverished. And I don't see any way out. I know for a fact about when I get ready to retire, I'm not gonna be in no goddamn America. That's not gonna happen. You know, I'll probably by then I'll probably have a place over here permanently. You know, I'll have residual income coming in. Not gonna live a good life on the continent. Not it's like me personally. I'm like I can't see myself paying fucking high bills and mortgage for the rest of my fucking life. I can't do it. You know, that money could be used for traveling and doing all kinds of stuff that I always wanted to do. You know, but there's some people are stubborn, man. I can't leave America, blah, blah, blah. Man, America left me a long time ago. But I ain't telling people what to do. You know, you're all grown. You do what the hell you want to do. I'm just saying, I don't get it. And in America, one thing I don't like is, you know, there's certain neighborhoods in America, where at least where I live at in Virginia, that they get all of them are getting expensive, right? But some of the neighborhoods, right? I've always said this: there's no such thing as a bad neighborhood because you look at the aesthetics of every last single neighborhood, black, white, whatever, like that. It's still the same thing. You got streets, you got lights, and everything like that. You have sign markings, all stuff like that, right? So, what makes a neighborhood bad? It's not the freaking neighborhood; it's the people. It's like when you what I notice about this is where I live at is white people will go into a neighborhood where there's high crime and they'll be all right. For some reason, they don't feel, oh, yeah, because they have it in mind, man. Oh, yeah, if somebody gets shot, oh, yeah, somebody got shot the other day right there. They know it's just a black thing. That's what the way they think. It's a black thing. But me being black or you being black is different. You could really get caught up in this shit. Now you got some black people like, oh yeah, I'm not one of those hood. But the bottom line, you know, because you're black, you could be caught in this shit up too, just by being black, no matter how white you think you are. So therefore, we tend to, when black people get a little bit of money, they move way out of the inner city. White people with money are trying to save money. They're coming into the inner city, regentrifying it, and driving black people out. So it's like and what's driving black people out? Black people don't want to be around certain other black people. That's what it is. I'm telling you right now. I gotta say, why you look? I tell the story all the time. Miss Cuffy. Put her one in the chat room if you remember my Miss Cuffy story. I'm about to tell the story about Miss Cuffy. Put her one in the chat room if you remember Miss Cuffy. Somebody put her one in the chat room, please. Dark Migo, do you remember my Miss Cuffy story? Well, let me tell you my Miss Cuffy story. There was an older lady. I was like, Elvis paid attention. This older lady, black lady, right? And I always asked her, was she related to Paul Cuffey, right? Because her name was Cuffey, right? And so, who's that? Who that? I said, he was a African American explorer. He was settled in Sierra Leone. Right? That's how I first remember her. No, that's good history. That's some good history, son. Anyway, this company was like a matriarch in this Taco Bell KFC store right over there. She was like a manager, but she was like the matriarch, Yeah, Miss Company, yeah, look at such and such. Yeah, that's little boo boo. When he got big, but yeah, just doing the whole thing because she lived in McDonald Manor. The people who work there in that area, East Chesapeake, that's Virginia Beach. That's the oldest section of Virginia Beach called East Chesapeake. It's like an old section. You go look at the streets look old, everything look old. That's called East Chesapeake. Well, in one neighborhood in East Chesapeake called McDonald Manor, that's the fucking projects. A lot of girls, we used to, back in the days, they had some fine sisters there. That's another story. Anyway, all these girls worked there at that KFC right there. This company was like a matriarch, right? Oh, and then what year was this? Okay, I used to always stop there for lunch or whatever like that. And then one day, I went to a KFC in the other side of Virginia Beach, right? And and Miss Cubby came. I said, Miss Cubby, what are you doing over here? She goes, oh yeah, I done moved out. She goes, I live in those condos over there. I said, yeah, those white condos over there. She goes, yeah. We got the in-ground, the indoor and outdoor pool. We got the sauna, jacuzzi. I got my little gate code and whatnot. And she goes, I'm 72 years old. I want to enjoy something nice. I said, but Miss Company, what about the community? They need you. She looked at me like, Negro, please. She goes, I'm going to enjoy my life. She goes, I saved for 3 years. And they gave me that key to my place, my condominium. I said, thank you, Jesus. But she was like, I'm moving on up. She, like I said, man, now I wanted Miss Cuffy because I had this nostalgia of the community being together. She's like a matriarch giving these young girls advice and everything. Miss Cuffy, like, I got a life to live. I'm sick and tired of that shit. She bounced, You know, she went to the fucking she went to those condos are nice too. I used to know the chick that lived over there. They were nice too. They got the freaking we drive around. You got your own little spot right. You drive around. It's like a path, in there and whatnot. It's really nice. You got your own little driveway. Your little driveway for your car, and you got your own little outside patio, whatever. It's nice. It's really nice the way they got way to design. Really nice. And you got the clubhouse right there in the middle. You got the clubhouse right there in the middle where people go and lounge and everything like that. They got a exercise room, a gym right there on the property. They got everything. They got an indoor and outdoor pool. They got the sauna room. They got everything. It was freaking nice, So she was like, man, I can't wait. I love it over there. Man, I love that. So have you been back? McDonald, man? She was no. I'm like, wow. It kind of hurt me though, That really did. That really broke my heart that she was like, because I just thought that, look, man, we got a community here, man. We got unity and the black community working together. And she was like, man, shoot, I gotta live for my damn self. I want to enjoy some of these years I got left. I can't blame her. It is what it is. All right, links in the chat room, folks. You want to call in? Links in the chat room. But yeah, so the transatlantic slave trade. My theory, and I studied this for years, and one day I'm going to prove it. Right? I believe the transatlantic slave trade happened slowly because there was like a brief period, like about 200 years, where there was mutual respect between the European and the Africans on the coast. They were doing trade in ivory, friendship, and stuff like that. But when the Portuguese returned in the 1700s, their attitude was more hostile and stuff like that. They began to be threatening and stuff like that. So, what happened in those 200 years? You know, I think there was small scale slave trading going to Cape Verde and stuff like that. And I think Europeans began to see Africans in a different light. So, in other words, basically, my theory has always been that African Europeans basically, the slavery wasn't just about those in bondage. They held contempt for people who looked like the people they were in bondage. In other words, Europeans didn't really make a distinction, as I've studied in my research, between the captive people in chains and the people who collaborated with them. They began to see Africans on a whole as an inferior race. I don't think a lot of Africans understand that. You know, they think, oh, yeah, those are the people we sold as slaves. No, this perception of slavery affected the whole entire image of Africa into the world. You know, and out of that came the idea of racial hierarchy and Darwinism and stuff like that, where they held the African as an inferior race to other human beings. They didn't say the Africans that were on the slave ships that were chains. They said Africans, period. And I think that part of African that Africans miss because they never talk about that. They really don't think there's something special by saying they're Benin. I'm a Hausa. I'm a Fulani. That means absolutely nothing outside the African continent. It really, your tribal affiliation means absolutely nothing in the real world. You know, they didn't basically, they Europeans did not respect Africans at all. You know, Africans say, well, we sold different other people. They said, you know, at that time, Europeans and Asians and even the Arab world had developed a sense of racial identity. Race was the highest scientific ideology to group people with. And Europeans got on code that we're white men. Before we're Dutch, before we're Englishmen, before we're French, before we're Spanish, we're white men. Well, they took advantage of a group of people that refused to see themselves as black men. Now, the black people in America, we learned how to be black. So when I see the FBA talk about we're tired of flat blackness and whatnot, no, it's not. Well, I do believe in flat blackness still. Now we can protect our own little individual thing, but the flat blackness basically means we're evolved. Where our culture is evolved. We're evolved past tribal identity. Now, what the FBA wants to do is engage in tribalism. You know, when we understood how to survive in this world, we have to see people in terms of race. And we just need to get Africans and other black people on code with us. I hope everybody can understand that shit. The Europeans saw themselves as a race. They saw themselves as white men first, before there was Dutch, before there was Spanish, before they were Italian, before they were Frenchmen, they were white men. At least when it came to other races, you know, they saw each other as white men, and the white man's cause, white man's burden. The black race hasn't figured that out yet. All we want to do is sit around talk about our tribalism, my tribal identity. Yeah, me, our Igbo people. What I really do is I cannot stand when they bring that tribalism to me in America. Well, I'm a this, I'm a that. I don't give a fuck about your Shanti kingdom. I don't give a fuck about like I said, I have no respect for none of this shit, and don't tell me I gotta respect it. They are engaged in what the inner culture world. We're still living in prehistoric. We're still in yeah. Africa is still prehistoric and primitive in their thinking. They think there's tribals. They think there's gonna be a tribal war breaking out. Somebody gonna raid their village and take their virgins like that. That's what the level you're on when you're tribalism. You're constant in a constant state of war and readiness. Because somebody tries to steal something from you. That's just the saddest situation. And what gets me is these people come here and they bring their tribalism on TikTok. That's what it is. And people don't really understand something, right? A lot of stuff that you see where Africans get online and start talking shit about us, right? It has it has everything to do with that's just the way Africans are. They tribalism is making gross generalizations of people and stuff like that. That's what they are. That's what they do in Africa. Right? And because we're black, they feel they can come over here and do that with us. I'm not gonna, I don't feed into that nonsense. Because the bottom line is in America, if you don't really understand that the white man and the system don't give a fuck about what tribe or language you think you are and stuff like that, it doesn't mean a damn thing in the grand scheme of things. If you think it does, then you're a fucking fool. You know, if you think it's something what you call, then you're a freaking fool. You know, tribalism means absolutely nothing. In the grand scheme of things. But we hold on to this tribal stuff in America. What for? I have no idea. What do we think we're gonna gain from it? I have no idea. I don't know, Baruti. I don't know about your sub-Saharan African nonsense and whatnot. I live as a black man in America. You know, I don't know anything about no Bantu, sub-Saharan nonsense, and I really don't care about uh, uh, linking with what you call continentals and that's what do we gain? What do I gain from that? We've never seen anything gaining from that. Just people bringing their backward culture to us and dragging us down with it and their nonsense. You know, if it works, it works. You show me the way, and I'll listen to it. But I really don't see anything where like that because I just think Black America got its own culture. We don't need all these other people. We don't. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Broody be talking about nowadays. I have no idea. You know, we got to speak Ubuntu. We got to do Ubuntu. Don't know quite what that is. How it's going to build anything. How will Ubuntu get us out of debt, Broody? Ubuntu get us out of debt. Ubuntu, 30% of all African wealth, the revenue generated in Africa, goes to servicing debt from European creditors and Asian creditors. 30%. You know, it's like wow. It's like damn. So it's like damn. It's like you're like 50,000 years behind the rest of the damn world. And they got basically Africa enslaved right now. So one thing I got, Birdie, is the fact that Black America, we ain't got no debt to we pay taxes in America, but we ain't in no debt to no IMF, the World Bank, or stuff like that. We ain't in that debt. We're not in no debt to China or anything like that. So Yeah, Ubuntu will put us in debt. We're going to take on their debt and their foolishness and whatnot. For fucking irresponsible African countries, whatnot. Yeah, let's invest in Ubuntu and whatnot. We ain't going to see nothing out of it. But the main thing is that we're doing the right thing and we're feeling good about ourselves that we did Ubuntu. You know. Z, what propaganda going the wrong direction? What I said, you know, external debt in Africa is real. Let's look it up. Let me get a reference point. Pop right up. African external debt. Wow. It says Africa's external debt has tripled over the past 15 years, over $700 billion by 2023. That's almost $1 trillion. Africa has almost $1 trillion worth of external debt. Now, there's a lot of Ubuntuists and people like that who think Black America should pay that debt. We should buy up African bonds and pay Africa's debt. Invest in Africa. You're not going to see a return and whatnot. But the main thing is that you're doing the right thing and everything like that. So I'm like, this $700 billion in debt. How is that going to get out of there? Let's just they want Black America to come in like this. Yeah, give away your cash, said police, and you'll feel good about yourself. You'll feel good that you did the Ubuntu thing and whatnot. Yay, yay, Ubuntu. Let's give all our cash away to Africa. Let's put all our investments in Africa. We ain't gonna see a dime. We're gonna be destitute and ostracized, and we're gonna be in extreme poverty. We're gonna have no money to live on retirement, nothing like that. But the main thing is that we're helping Africa. Yay! And then when we're done with that, I said, Baruti goes, Colin, you can't be this dense. All Black people need to come here. So, in other words, basically, we identify with sub-Saharan African, right? What that has to do with anything, what the hell is sub-Saharan? Okay, I identify with sub-Saharan African. So what does that mean? That's just where I came from. What the hell does that got to do for anything? Does that put money in our pocket, Baruti? That give us access to the oil fields and whatnot? Do we got oil blocks off the coast of Africa? No. It is more friggin' Ubuntu bullshit, No, let's not have any land. No, you Black people in America, y'all can't have no land of your own. You can't have any access to diamond mines and stuff like that. You can't get yourself started in Africa like that. You can't. Right now, the Africans are trying to give Donald Trump all his rare earth minerals. No, but Donald Trump gets the rare earth minerals. We get Ubuntu. Yay! Give the white man and the Chinese man the lithium and the uranium and the gold and the oil and everything. Black man in America, you get Ubuntu. Woo-hoo-hoo. Man, are we so lucky? Woo-hoo. Yeah, everybody's walking away with the bag when not we get Ubuntu when not, yeah. And we get some synergy. What'd you say? Rudy, some synergy of whatever the hell you're talking, linguistics. Oh yeah, I get to sound retarded by speaking Shnagalaga, speaking Kiswahili Shnagalaga and whatnot, making myself like a fool and whatnot, I don't think I'm saying random right. I think I'm saying it myself, man. I'm like this, Africa has 700 bill the Sahel. So I don't know, sub-Saharan African. I guess we're sub-Saharan Africans. I don't know. We came from south of Sahara. What the hell? I guess that's where we're from. That's what I've been always taught. But Africa is $700 billion of external debt, and we got this. Yeah, I think Sinner should have won Best Film though. I think Delroy Lindo should have brought Best Supporting Actor, with Sean Penn, that clown. You know, the Oscars is still very racist and whatnot. I saw that movie, uh, one battle after another on the airplane. Right? I still don't get it. And I think that all the hype about that movie is because it was an interracial fucking sex. You had a light skinned chick, whatever. Interracial sex and whatnot, and shit like that always sells and whatnot. Hot interracial sex between a black woman and a white man is always going to get you an Oscar. Remember Monsters Ball, Halle Berry? So they know what they're doing. And that show Moonlight with the fucking homosexual. Anything that shows homosexuality or black women swirling on black men, those are always going to win. You know? Yeah, the bedwench culture. It don't surprise me whatsoever. Y'all in the right, y'all are in the right hands talking to the college genesis. Y'all know who I'm talking. Y'all know who y'all talking to. You can talk to me. You can talk to your Uncle Colin. But when you have this one stupid black woman going around the freaking internet, and like I said, this is a platform where we criticize these fucking bedwench bitches. Ass hustle smart, you know. Anyway, oh, black women, if you don't like it, get the fuck off my platform. You know, we're gonna put these fucking stupid women in check. This woman going around on TikTok. This goes out there to the rest of the fucking world. Our enemies are listening to this shit, right? Oh no, kid over. The enemies will listen to this shit. This woman said the solution to America is rich white men marry educated black women. Some hood rat. Where are these so-called educated black women? They sound stupid as hell. They're not educated. Educated black women and white men should hook up. Yeah, one bedwench after another. Yeah, we're sick of this bedwench culture. That black women are on board with. They can't stay out of the white man's fucking bed. You know, I'm for one. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm not gonna bite my tongue on this shit no more. Go ahead, Kidola.
Carla, I think the topic you talk about slave trade, the truth.
Yeah, we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade, the ugly truth.
Yeah, it happened. Africa was involved. So I mean, Africa's one.
Oh, we know Africa's involved, but Africa. Hold on. You got an echo, Kidola. You got to hang up and call back in.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
No, but I can't. But I'm hearing myself echo.
No, I'm hearing you pretty good.
I can't hear you. I'm just saying I hear myself echoing. I'm saying something you're doing. You got a bad connection. So we drop down and come back in. I don't know what it is. And it's gonna get oh, Africa's involved. We know the fuck you involved, but you didn't benefit from the fucking slave. You were victims too. As Bebe Rodriguez, oh, I'm glad Africans, uh, uh, somebody found love. What kind of love is that? Being a fucking passed around like a fucking bedwench or whatnot? That's Bebe Rodriguez. That's the FBA. Most of the FBA women want to be swirlers, whatever. It is what it is. Africans sold Africans, that's why yeah, it is what it is. The freaking transatlantic slave trade is the reason why Africa can't get itself together. That you cannot have hundreds of years of human degradation and then tell these people to build a modern society. There's no basis to build a society on because the fundamental disrespect that Africans have for humanity is there. They don't have the fundamental respect for humanity to govern somebody. In order for you to govern somebody, you got to believe their life means something. You can't just watch people being in bondage for hundreds of years and then say, "Give me independence, let me govern govern people." It don't work like that. I'm sick and tired of people telling me that I got to pretend like I'm dealing with civilized fucking people. No, we're not. You know, the best thing that happened to Africa is Black America and Liberia and everything we did, our culture that we created. You know, other than that, Africa's fucking darkness. Go ahead, Kidola.
You hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay, see, okay. I say Africans are involved in slave trade, and it's not the whole of Africa. I just what I want to say, you know.
You act like they was in a business arrangement. Africa was forced into the slave trade. They were forced into the slave trade because you was in a powerless position. You couldn't resist it. The global demand for human bodies, right, said that you had to be involved in or you're going to be enslaved yourself. So therefore, it's not no flex that, oh yeah, we're involved in slave trade. Slavery basically forever altered the way the white race in the world sees Africans. So Africa lost in the slave trade because I don't care what you think, Kidola, right? The white man sees you as the same thing. They don't make a distinction between those who were enslaved and those who wasn't. To them, you are by blood an inferior race of people. That's what it is. So all the titles you want to give yourself.
Okay, Carla, I cannot lie to you. You know, I did study about slave before, but I studied about slave in Africa. I'm from a center whereby the powerful king in my zone was a slave dealer also. You know, he was involved in slave business
It means
and
nothing.
Benin Empire. And 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 it's not the whole of Africa. I'm talking about the elite now. The
They
whole
don't
of
respect Africa whatsoever. You know,
no no
right now they're
Carla,
strangling Africa. They're strangling Africa with debt, 700
yeah,
and almost $800 billion worth of external debt. That sound like a friend of yours? $800
no
billion worth of
Carla,
debt.
Carla, it's not about respecting or not respecting. It's about some of these African leaders were into the business for a very long time.
It ain't about the
What do you
African
think?
leaders. They just don't respect
What do you
Africa
what do you
at all.
what do you think? What do you think the Ashanti king was doing for 400 years business with the Dutch people? You think it was come and eat and drink tea? It was a slave business.
Was he road?
It was a business of you give me this, I give you this. That was what the business was about. Slave did
And
actually started in Africa.
kiddo, be honest with you, just like the white man has no respect for shit, I don't have no respect for shit.
Color is not about
I have
respect.
no respect for African kingdoms.
Yeah, yeah,
None of that shit, you
yeah.
know.
You
All
know,
of us in the
yeah.
West, and I'm telling you right now, growing up in America, nobody respects this shit like that because Africa, that happened, Africans basically seen the world's weak, you know.
Color, color. Do you know there were also black people also owned slave in Jamaica?
So,
What do you think
so
about
Africa
this?
lost in the transatlantic slave trade.
So it was
Yeah, it doesn't matter where they came from. It doesn't matter where they went to. You know, Africa
so
basically, the black race in the whole is at the bottom of the world fucking social status. You know,
yeah,
because
yeah.
Africa allowed the transatlantic slave trade to happen.
It just like the way it does. Look, when they wicked the Africans by buying their slaves.
Brewer says, Colin, I mentioned the last show that you aren't a slave. Look, I never said I'm not a damn slave. You know, but I'm not going to have you here mock my ancestors. My ancestors were enslaved. So that's what slave. You know, I'm not ashamed of that. That's Black America. So they can talk all they want. We produce all the inventions. We're the richest black people on earth, most educated. We're everything. We're on top of the fucking world. So if people call slaves said all you want. Look, we achieved. Everybody follows us, follows our lead, everything. That's why Kilo had to drop off. He knows I'm telling the truth. You know. So if being a slave descendant is what I'm identified as, hey, so be it.
Kala, my network.
What?
Kala, see my network, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, so it's not about what happened at that time. It's about what.
Go ahead, speak.
You, you hearing me now?
I can hear you good.
Kala,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
okay. Slave trade
I
that
can hear
happened.
you. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Slave trade that happened was a very bad thing. But I think we don't sugarcoat it. We can we can accept it and overcome it and never happen again. Finish.
Oh no, we can't overcome it. No, sorry. No, sorry. This doesn't work like that. You could overcome it. Because you can say, oh well, whatever. But we're saying that doesn't work like that. Our ancestors' blood has to be avenged. And the only thing that could avenge that thing is black people in the West, the Africans that were taken slave, need a homeland, a space of their own. Simple as that. If we don't have that, we got nothing. No reconciliation, no nothing. That's why I see it. People want to talk all this stuff
Yeah,
like that, kumbaya stuff. Slavery is never like also is getting worse. And that's why we got the FBA shit going on because the hatred right there is growing. Europeans had the biggest guns and Africans had spears. Yes, the ones like yeah, Europeans had guns, but Africans never bothered to learn how to make these guns themselves.
FBA,
The Africans learned how to make guns.
FBA thought they will get money for the white man. To do that, they have to go after the Africans so that they like
Well, I don't
like
know. Look, I don't know about FBA and the whole
I just saw
reparations
FBA.
bullshit. I don't understand about. I
It's
don't
all
care
about the
about that. I
money.
don't care about that because the FBA. What I'm saying is this. This is what I'm saying. The FBA is not a legitimate organization to me. Why? Because as also Holland was saying is they are basically when they say delineate, they're basically trying to rewrite history by saying they never came from Africa, right? That's that's not true. We are definitely African descendants, right? And they basically are saying, like some FBAs are now saying, that if you marry a Nigerian, that's an interracial marriage. That black people in America are a different race. That's a lie. Most of us have 80 to 90% African DNA. We're the largest group of black people outside of Africa here in America with the African DNA, with the most African DNA.
Color,
You know, so
color,
FBA people are pseudo racist. They're not arguing in good faith. Because they trigger people like you. And when I know these type of people, these are people who, for the longest time, they never consider themselves black to begin with, much less African.
color. You
That's the
know,
truth.
color. You see, Black Americans are not the only blacks that took from Africa. There are some. There are some other ones in Latin Americans also.
Yeah, but hold on.
So
We're the, hold on. We're the only significant group of black people outside of Africa. We're the largest or
you
the only
talk.
black middle
You,
class.
you
What?
talk about you because you talk about economical. There are a lot of Brazilians that are very heavily light skinned and Black
Yeah,
Americans.
but hold on, hold on,
So,
hold on, hold on. Let me say this about the Brazilians. Less than 10% of the Brazilian population is actually black, right? Most of the people that they consider black nowadays in Brazil have less than 15% African blood. They said, "Oh, I got African blood, so they're black." Some of these people actually are indigenous and they call themselves black, right? Brazilians basically are not true black people. They only got a certain amount of percent. Black America survived 400 years without losing our fucking majority black African DNA. We didn't go through a cultural and racial genocide like they did in Dominican Republic, Brazil, and places like that, where they fucking like Cape Verde and places like that where they mixed
Yeah,
in with the Portuguese
yeah,
and stuff like that. We didn't
yeah,
do
but
that.
those when you call, they're not really black, but they're not insulting their root where they're coming from, and it's not like
Well,
Africa
hold
has
on.
Black
I
Americans.
know that.
You,
Look, I'm not insulting my root where I come from. I could say what root they come from, but
you know,
the bottom line, in fact, Black America has done more for Africa, connect more with Africa. There's more Black Americans in Africa than any other group of people in the diaspora. Major moves in Africa. We're the ones doing shit in Africa. All the people talk that stuff, but they're not doing anything. You know, so we're the ones making the moves. When
Color is good.
1977, they had FESTAC. They had FESTAC. Guess who was there in the largest group there? It was Black America. 1977, Stevie Wonder was there. Lagos, Nigeria, FESTAC. Black America was the largest group in attendance. So this nonsense about no, we've shown a major fighting event where Africans, right? Did they bring them to the continent? No, we brought the largest fighting event in history to the Congo, the Ali Foreman fight. Now Mayweather Tyson is about to do another one in the Congo again. We're always doing shit for Africa. We're always putting Africa on the map. You can't put that shit on us, bro. We've paid our dues
Uh,
to Africa,
uh,
and we got
Color
really
all this
nothing
Congo,
in return.
all this Congo fight is being sponsored by CIA. You know, these are political, geopolitical moves. You know,
Hold on. You got evidence of that?
yeah, let me tell you something. Let me tell you. I'll tell you.
No,
Look,
no. Do you have
all,
evidence?
all, all the Muhammad Ali fight and George Foreman that Don King came to promote in Congo was a geopolitical
No,
move
you don't have any evidence.
that, that the Congolese dictator, that stupid man,
I
pay almost
said
about.
that. Hold up. Nevertheless, right? Our intentions was to go to the Congo, right? Because we wanted that biggest fight in our history to be on the African continent. It's just that it just so happened Mobutu Sese Seko stepped up. Now, did the CIA benefit from that, or the CIA say that's a good
Look,
idea? Probably, but
look,
that's not what you don't. I don't go by what the CIA and all that
hold
does.
on.
I go by
If,
the intentions of
if
Ali, what you call it, Don King, and all these other people who said
with
that this is going to be the first time major event where Black people from America are going to fight in the motherland and whatnot, and that was a historic event. So
the man provide $5 million for that fight. If that man didn't have money, Don King, do you think Don King would bring that fight to that place? No. It's
well,
just about the money.
but Mobutu put up $10 million and showcase the fight. So what? So what?
So they followed. So it's all about the money. They followed the money. That's why they came to fight it there because he want to host them. He's doing level and
Yeah,
the CIC that
first of all, hold up. There were several people. Liberia was supposed to be where it was supposed to be first, but the stadium that's called SKU Stadium in Liberia now wasn't built in time. It was started in 1971, but it wasn't complete by the time the fight came there. So they had to look for another venue. There were people all over Africa. They said they wanted to fight in Africa. It just said so happened Mobutu was ready to take it up. And that's what
it
happened.
was not
It had
only
nothing
it
to
was
do
not only
with
Don
no.
it was not it was not only Don King they used. I think they also used that jazz player also to it has a soft power to penetrate some certain.
Hold on.
That's what they
Yeah.
call
But the whole thing is, yeah. But hold on, kiddo. What we can't do is sit here and look. My people, right? We go to Africa, France, where like that. We go there to connect. We're not going there as no CIA. The CIA use people? Yeah, the CIA could use you right now. You probably don't even know it. People are being used by the CIA all the time. You don't know what you're doing and stuff like that. So the bottom line is this: but I trust and believe in my fucking people. I don't believe Louis Armstrong said, "Okay, CIA, let me sign up for what you're trying to do. We're trying to undermine Africa." That ain't what we do. And that's what you're implying. That's not going to happen, bro. We go to Africa, whatever like that. Sometimes, this, I did. A lot of times, black people understand the geopolitical ramifications of what's going on. For example, when we did Festac in Nigeria, right? We did Festac in Nigeria. Fela Kuti boycotted Festac because they said that we were spotlighting a military government and a dictatorship in Nigeria. We didn't know. We said, "Oh, this is We're just homecoming." I know my people. We were not going to do anything to harm the fucking Fela Kuti or the Nigerian. We know that maybe there was a repressive military regime in Nigeria, but regardless, that's not our business. So the bottom line is this: stop making it seem like what you're trying to do is, I know you're trying to put like black people in America got some ulterior motive, and that's bullshit.
No. Kala, you say when you talk about slave trade, I say I'm not sugarcoating not to Kala. I say the Africans were involved.
Well, but that's what you're implying. You're implying that we got ulterior motives. Look, look, Kidola. Most black people in America fucking hate America. They hate white people. We call them the white fucking devils. And the bottom line is, we do still see ourselves as Africans. Understand? So I'm sick and tired of you guys always talking about, "Oh, you guys have done more fucking shit to destroy the relationship between us and whatnot," but you always want to put it on us like we're doing. No, you guys actually do come over here and try to undermine us on our shit. We don't go to Africa and try to undermine you. We're just trying to connect. I'm not in Liberia right now to fucking undermine nobody.
Kala, Africans are not coming to the United States of the Mayu people. What the Africans are doing when they come to the United States, they just try to survive with the job that is there being provided by the white man.
Hold on. It's like this. Why don't you take your fucking surviving ass back to Africa and do survive there? Shit, why the fuck you gotta come? Look, there's a difference between you coming in here and trying to survive, whatever. I get that, but when you come over here and you inject yourself into our politics and stuff like that, like Godfrey. People are mad at Godfrey right now, and I like Godfrey, but he made a stupid comment talking about, when he injects himself in the issue about slavery, we have a thing where this is the way Black America thinks, right? Slavery is an unsettled thing, whatever like that, and we don't like people mocking our ancestors and what we say. If you're not one of us, you can't speak for us, And a lot of Africans don't seem to understand that. They'll come over to America. Oh, you guys don't need reparations. You have a Nigerian guy that was running for office in Michigan. Talking about he wins the governorship. The first thing he's going to do is he's going to repeal Black History Month. It's stupid shit you guys come over here and do. First thing he's going to do is he said Black History Month. They got this other guy from Cameroon.
Godfrey, whatever Godfrey got now, the backlash he's having, I think he deserve it. He deserve it. Why I say deserve it? You cannot be
we still like Godfrey. We're just telling him we still like Godfrey, but we're just trying to tell him that at a certain point in time, like I know when to back off African issues and stuff like that. When it comes to Black America, right? What we hate is if you're not really one of us, right? You cannot speak for us, and that's the only problem he gets into. Sometimes he defends Black America all the time, right? But certain things you cannot speak on, like when he says, "Oh, Black America is going through trauma." No, the fuck, I'm not going through no trauma from slavery, and Black people aren't going through trauma of slavery. Sometimes they just don't like Africans,
Kala, I'm not going to lie to you.
Really, sometimes Black people in America don't like Africans,
Africa Africa that depended towards Black American. They just was. I came over there. How would I just face like what the Italians are doing, what the white people are doing, got a job or open a
So
business?
hold on, hold on.
Right?
Let me say this. Let me say this, kiddo. Most black people in America have no contact with Africans that come over here. Really, we don't see them, whatever like that. The only time we know they exist is when they come on our live feeds on TikTok and run their fucking mouth. That's the only time you see Africans. We don't eat in their food, the restaurants. We don't eat their shit, whatever like that. We don't know any businesses, whatever like that.
They,
They're invisible to us, right? The only time we see them is when they're online running their mouth, and that's what annoys a
yeah,
lot of black people. If they were
so,
important in our community, if they were participating in our community, we would have us feel a certain way because the experience with us would be based on really. But I don't know the last time I saw a fucking African. I think I
Kala,
met my first African here like 20 years ago. I met my first African in America like 20 years ago. And so
then
and I think I know a total of five. You know,
the why they hate then, because if they're not seeing
No,
Africans and
I
Africans are not,
told you because they're all on social media, always talking shit. Africans use social media and they rage bait and they always try to engage Black America. Black America's like, leave us the fuck alone, go
no,
away.
no, Kala,
Some people,
no,
I'm
Kala,
just serious. Most Black people in
Kala,
America want nothing to do
Kala,
with Africans.
Africa is not real like that. It's Black Americans who are sorting them first by calling them all
No,
kind
no,
of.
no. It's
Kala,
African. No, it's Africans.
Kala, let
It's
me tell you,
Africans who started this. Look, kid Olin.
Kala,
It's Africans who started this shit. Africans started this shit. Because it all started when the movie Black Panther came out, right? And then black people were like, yeah, Wakanda, and Africans made it clear that you guys aren't Africans and all this kind of stupid shit. And it started from there. Then when Beyonce did that Black is King doing the ephod thing, Africans like, oh, she's not African, she's real appropriate. They started going on their way to de-Africanize us, right? Y'all not real African Americans, y'all and stuff like that. So what happened was we had no real defense for it. And then along comes Yvette Carnell and them, and black people said, how are we supposed to respond to people always attacking us? Stuff like that. So that's how the FBA ADOS movement grew, you know? And so
Kala,
therefore, but it was Africans who came over here and started using white supremacy talking points against us and saying all this stuff. And then black people just took it too far, I think, with this ADOS, FBA, and stuff like that. Now it's out of control.
yeah, yeah,
Colleges.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's going to be out of control because it's way with Kala. Kala. It was this a bit way back fight, and and when you see that, I said you are closer to the white people than to us. Let's just be honest. We cannot sugarcoat it. If
Sugar
I have
about
a
what?
problem with
What?
you, hold on. If I have a problem with you, you will call the white police on me in time than any of that. So will you understand and know that it's better for you to greet this person you see? Doesn't mean because you have the same skin color that you can be family. Okay, I greet you.
No, no,
I will treat you like that.
like I told you, the problem is we don't have any contact with Africans here other than social media. We don't see them. We don't see you. Really, we don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
In America, the average black person in America goes whole life and never meet an African. Really, we
yeah,
don't see you.
yeah,
You're not here.
yeah, yeah. That's thing, Carla. But you see, generally, to keep peace, there have to be separation. That separation, look, they come to United States. It's not only the Africans that are coming to United States. There are different type of races that are coming to United States.
Well,
You
what was
understand
it
me?
to you like this, Kinola? I've never met somebody from Singapore. I never met somebody from Thailand. I never met somebody from Norway. It's always people coming from really poor countries. That's that's what we always notice. I
Yeah,
never met
but
a
yeah, yeah,
Japanese.
yeah, yeah, because the power that be, look, when you poor, you try to migrate to look for a better life. When Africa was booming during the oil boom, I was having a British man as my literature teacher, English teacher, a British man. What did you think he was doing in Nigeria? I was looking for big salary. You understand me? Davido teacher was a British. We have
All
all
right,
kind of people at that
let
time.
me answer my good sister Frenchie, right? We do have things with Latinos, but we've solved the Latino problem, right? We told the Latinos stay the fuck away from us, right? Stay the fuck away, and right now we destroyed that so-called myth of a black-brown coalition. So Latinos are on their side, they're on their side, whatever like that. We don't fuck with Latinos at all, That's what we could do with Latinos, right? But there's idea that we have some sort of we're meeting Africans every day. I'm trying to tell you, when I meet an African, sometimes I see him. Hey, how you doing? What's up, brother? Dap me up, whatever like that, and keep it moving. We don't really interact with each other like that on a day-to-day basis to be like this. The only time we see Africans is on social media. That's it. Go ahead, Elvis.
What's up, Carlos?
What's going on? Somebody say, what exactly, Colin, mad? I'm not mad. I'm not mad at Africans. I'm saying Kidola is telling me, oh, like we got there's some beef between Africans and Black Americans. It's not. There's not that many of you, here. I when's the last time I come across an African? Never, in America. So I can't say that. All I do is see Africans on social media talking about us all the time. And most Black people in America like, what the fuck are they talking about us for? I don't know any Nigerians. I don't know any. Most people, Black people, don't even know what Nigeria is. Don't even know what the fuck it is. Couldn't point to Nigeria on a map. The Africans think they're important. When they're like, oh, you Black Americans, blah blah. We don't care about what the fuck you're doing. We got our own lives to live. Go ahead, Elvis.
All right. So you was talking about how you don't think that the Africans were complacent when it came to slavery, and
Uh,
I was listening to
Yo,
yeah, go ahead,
yeah, I was
Elvis.
listening to Dynasty. Yeah, I was listening to Dynasty show today, and that guy Shy made a great point. I think if it wasn't for the invention of the Gatling gun that can fire so many rounds, so quickly and just mow down a lot of people, perhaps slavery would not have had gone on for such a long time. Because I think they just had better weapons than the Africans. Spears and bows couldn't fight against guns, and especially the Gatling gun. So yes, African was complicit, but those who tried to fight against it they were mowed down by those Gatling guns and superior weapons from the Europeans. So I think, we can blame Africans, as being collaborators and people who pretty much sold their people. But those who was trying to fight against it pretty much had no chance because the weapons were just advanced for them. But I say this sometimes, and we hear it in your voice, Carla, and that's not a dig at you. It's just an observation that you are angry about this, and you're right to be angry. If not angry, you probably heard about it that your ancestors were sold into slavery. So I hear it all the time, and every time we have these conversations with the Africans versus the African Americans, the root of it is always slavery. Now, our ancestors, the continental African ancestors, sold, the diaspora Africans, and that hurt us still.
You know what the problem is, Elvis? The problem is that slavery has never been rectified, and unfortunately, Black America, right now, I'm gonna say something controversial here, right? The proper response, if somebody comes up to you, Elvis, and this guy is beating out your car windows, he's doing assaulting your wife and kids, threatening your wife and kids, he won't leave your property, whatever like that. He won't leave your property, he won't leave you alone every day. At a certain point in time, right? He's a damaging your property, that like that. Let me put it to you like that. He damaged your property, and everything like that. And then when it's all said and done, he says, I'm gonna turn over and leave. He says, Elvis, I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. Well, you assaulted my wife, you broke my car, you damaged my property, you dug up my grass, everything like that. But I'm just sorry. You understand where I'm going with this? Right? I'm
I'm
just
listening.
sorry. I'm just sorry, right? He said, I'm just sorry, whatever like that. Let's just move on, whatever like that. And you're like, wait a minute here. You gotta pay damages, you know? I gotta get back what I had. You know, a crime was been committed against Black America, right? People, millions of people uprooted from their land, right? Taking their land, culture, everything, and whatnot like that. That has never been rectified. You cannot rectify that in fucking by saying, I'm sorry, let me give you citizenship here.
I disagree. I disagree. That just
Kyler,
be
1 second, brother. Let me just ask you a question, Kyler. So, with you knowing this, right? You're a pretty smart guy, but there are other people who are smarter than you, for example, and more organized. Why aren't they asking for this in a comprehensive way?
Because the bottom
Because
line is, I don't think anybody's really serious. You know, I think if people take the path of least resistance, whatever like that, nobody wants I'm going down a lonely road, right? Now, if I want to be popular, I'll be an FBA, I'll be a Tariq type and whatnot, because there's no risk as far as he's concerned, right? When I talk like this, I'm risking everything. I'm risking my career. I'm risking friends I have, my standing in America, everything because of what I believe. You know, the other people are not willing to risk what I'm risking. You know, I'm
so,
saying
Kyler,
slavery.
this is my question, right? So, we engage you on your platform, but take a person like Tariq. Do you think all of the things that he does with FBA is deeply rooted in his hurt for the
Oh,
slave trade?
I think it's pride. Him is his pride. You know, in other words, okay. I was gonna save this for a special occasion, but I guess I'm gonna say it right now. There's this old thing in Black America, right? We call roasting, whatever like that. You know, joking, playing the dozens, whatever. And then there's one part of roasting where we look over to somebody and say, "I know you ain't laughing. I know you ain't talking." Remember what O'Shea said? He said about O'Shea, "O'Shea, I know you ain't talking." You know, in other words, basically, there's some people that could be in on a joke, but there's some people that Black people in America think you should never have nothing to say because you are so beneath and unworthy that and it friggin' hates the fact that Africans are standing up to them because Africans were like that clown in the corner that if let's say everybody's cracking jokes or not, the dude in the corner that's a clown or not, he better not laugh because everybody like, you laughing? Oh no, no. Everybody else is cracking up laughing at you, right? You're getting roasted. But that one dude you're gonna zero on, these are low-hanging fruit. And that's what Africans are, the low-hanging fruit. Tariq is like, I'm gonna check you motherfuckers, right? I can't do nothing about the Latinos. I can't do nothing about the white man. I can't like that. But you African immigrants, whatnot, you are beneath us, right? And Africans are fighting back. They're giving them shit back, whatnot. You know, they're fighting them back, and that's what you see. Go ahead, do Dex, whatever. You know.
no. I was just chiming in because when you was talking about the reparation part.
What about the reparations?
It's not that I disagree with what you said, you know, the harm being done or anything like that. But I feel like we looking for the reparations in a like we basically looking for it from the people that oppressed us instead of just getting it
Well,
ourselves.
that's what I'm for. I'm like this. The people that oppress you are not going to give you reparations. You know, I don't believe that. You know, because let me give you an example. I noticed something, right? And I'm not going to try to offend anybody. I know it's like you know that one chick that be on Phil Scott show when the black girl that be doing the commentary on Phil Scott show, right? I could tell she's a welfare. Phil Scott got these welfare queens, whatnot. He probably paying them a certain amount of money per month, whatever like that. You know, they got all different. They got their own channels and whatnot. YouTubers, right? These people, unaccomplished people in life. I know when I'm talking to somebody who grew up on the system, they go. Let me give you an example. When I was growing up, right? If my father didn't work, I didn't eat. If my father didn't work, I didn't get no toys under that Christmas tree, Christmas time, right? My father didn't work when I couldn't get my little league baseball uniform, right? In other words, I was taught from if you want something, you got to work for it. My father was the breadwinner of my household, right? There was no Section 8 then we had to pay mortgage. The parents had a house and they mortgage. We had a food bill, we had an electric bill. Nobody was paying for that. But if you live in a situation like for 2-3 generations, and you don't ever have to worry about your electric bill because the county's gonna pay for it. You don't have to worry about food because you got food stamps, SSI, whatever like that, right? It's very easy for you to believe that there's going to be a big payoff from the same system. That's what you're dealing with. And I notice most people who talk reparations sound like they grew up on the system because they believe it's possible that the government could write them a check one day.
But
Let me just say, Kala, but that doesn't sound far from impossible because it's actually happening. You get what I'm saying? Like, I ain't saying that I'm for it or anything, but I'm saying like if we look at it, it is these programs that's actually existing and actually paying people the money. So it's like it's not.
Yeah, and that's for everybody though. That's for everybody though. I mean, there's more white people on welfare and Section 8 and food
Kyler,
stamps.
I got a question, right? So, do you think if the white people, right, pay black folks reparation for slavery, and also the Africans, in your case, you want land. You know, other people might also want monetary compensation from the Africans. You think if they pay those people those reparation, will that repair the damage, the psychological damage of slavery,
No,
or would that
no.
still be a hurt even after you get
No,
payment?
because the bottom line is this: white people. I'm telling you right now, if they ever did pay reparations, right? First of all, white people will riot, and then what happens is white people will say, "We just bought your silence. We don't want to hear nothing about racism, or nothing." Because we'll say we absolved ourselves of the guilt. Then they can go ahead and make their slave films, and then what you'll see in America is they can come out and openly mock you. They can make minstrel shows again and stuff like that. We say, "Hey, we paid you for slavery. Now we get to own this. We get to say whatever we want about you." You know. Right now, the reason why white people tolerate black people is because they feel like they owe us a debt. You know, you take that away, and the bottom line, if they even did pay black people outright, I would say it'll be like that stimulus. They'll give every black person like $500. That's all.
Yeah, but see, on my behalf, I don't think it should be cash payments. Like I believe it should be some land, but if they do give cash out, I believe that's just a scam all the way around because you
Yeah,
can't.
no, it is a scam, you know, because they know you're going to spend it right back
No,
into
it's
their
not even that.
community.
It's not even
Because
that.
it's not even real value, right?
Yeah, it's no real value to it because they created it out of thin air. You feel me? Like
Yes, yeah. So that's what I'm saying, Kyla. What would truly repair the hurt and the psychological and emotional damage of slavery?
I would hate to say it. I said the only thing that will repair is if black people were in a position right now, and I'm telling you as a black American, African American, right? What black people was in a position right now, right? And our ancestors should have took advantage of this when we had Liberia, right? To be in a position of power and strength and independence from the people that enslaved them, right? And then basically be in a position, something like maybe Iran. That would give black people satisfaction. The fact that you achieve right now, the white man feels like he's won. And we feel like, damn, we were enslaved and everything like that. And white people are basically, they're saying, they're gloating over. I seen a video the other day. This woman said, yeah, we conquered y'all. What are y'all gonna do about it? So that satisfaction of, see, every other civilization, right? They never settled. This is the first time in human civilization where the people, think about it. This is why we're talking about the slave mentality. This is the first time in human history where the people that enslaved somebody and the enslaved have basically said that the people enslaved them, that we're one people and stuff like that. It's never happening. Usually people try to get their own land. They raise their own flag. That's how nations are forged and built. We're the first time in human history where we force self-determination, sovereignty, independence, dignity, all those pride, all self-reliance, all those things that make up a human being. Black men in America, but that's why we don't get no respect. That's why our community is breaking down. That's why we act like we're the same.
So, Carla, you just mentioned something that I feel like is way better than the idea of getting compensation as far as reparations. What do y'all think about sovereignty? Like, what if we?
Yeah, well, so that's what this platform is for. This platform is
Yeah,
about, and we call it an Afrikstan, an African American, African nation state, of our own. We're not. That's a talking point I want to grow with. It's time for us to say. It's time for us to part ways with white America. That's what I believe. It's time for us and future generations to have a sovereign nation of our own.
but
I
hold
believe
on.
that.
But we got enemies within that are like brainwashed with these people. Like, so how do
Well,
we
well,
do
well,
that?
like I said, the bottom. Look. I'm in Africa right now, right now. But I do know is this, right? The people, the enemies within, right? They're always going to reveal themselves. You know, if we ever start getting the land and stuff like that, they're going to reveal themselves. They are going to reveal themselves. They're going to because it just bothers them that we even think like that because we're escaping from the plantation. See, it's all psychological. Even if let's say even if most of us stay here in America, the fact that we would have a land that we could identify with, like to say the flag of that country, imagine us wearing that on our license plates and stuff like that. That would give us pride. That's a belonging, stuff like that. They don't want that. They want us all to. That's why they started the ADOS FBA movement to friggin' even the little connections we had with Africa is severed now because it's ADOS FBA movement. That's why I make a point of coming to Africa every year. You know, even though I know Liberia is not my end game. But we have an African nation of our own. But this is my closest connection to a nation I got right now is Liberia. That's why I'm here now.
So you believe like basically the disconnection is just that we don't have a land to identify with.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think that's necessarily true though. Like we got a land that we
We
can
have a
identify
culture, but
with.
the thing is, though, our culture is defined by we need to really, and this is my opinion, right? Black people, like the Jews, they got the state of Israel, right? They got some sort of sovereignty, autonomy, and stuff like that. Don't mean we all got to be there. You know, um, other groups of people, like let me give you an example, brother. You know how much land the Vatican owns? You know what the Vatican is, right? Rome, city state, right? It's a religious and geopolitical entity, Vatican. You know how much land the Vatican has, wealth the Vatican has? The Vatican has millions and millions of acres of land throughout the world. The Vatican controls gold. They got so much billions of dollars in reserves in the Swiss banks. They're a global geopolitical entity spreading the Catholic faith, whatever like that. You telling me that the African Americans and the African diaspora slaves shouldn't have a geopolitical entity in the world that could deal with China, Russia, Iran, and stuff like that we support? That's all. That just
Kala,
makes sense.
Kala, let me just hit you right now. Black Americans ain't gonna leave the white man alone.
Oh yeah, you think so?
Hold on, your billionaires are not organized enough to say, okay,
Well, how do you
let
know
me
that? How do
come
you
live.
know
Hold
that?
on, hold on,
How
hold
do you
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Because let's just be honest, you talk about the Catholic Church. Your people ain't coming to eat fufu. Your people ain't coming to eat African type of food that exists in these geographical areas of warm weather, everything. You are used to what the white men are eating. The Brazilians that came back to Africa, especially to a place called Lagos, all this VI, Lekki, all
hold on,
these
hold on, hold on,
islands.
hold on, hold on, hold on. Here in
Hold on.
Liberia, they eat. Hold up,
Oh,
they eat African American food right here in Liberia.
yeah, they eat their food, but they also eat the African food people also there too.
Yeah, but the
You
bottom line,
understand?
but the thing is though, you got more
The
food that came from the United States over here than you
the
do
the, the
Africa.
Brazilians that came back to Nigeria, let me use Nigeria as an example, they came with bisa rice. They came with stew and rice. They brought
Yeah,
this
Tyler,
culture to that place.
They got
we eat more
diversity.
stew. We eat more stew in Liberia. They got all the different kinds of soups from the different ethnic groups in different regions. That's the staple food that most people eat. On holidays, they might make the potato salad, the cornbread, you know. So it's a mixture, but I think it's more African food than Black
You
American
know,
food.
So what I'm trying to
Yeah,
talk
hold
about
on.
that,
But I think the conversation is just a form of culture, a cultural appropriation at this point, because like we got to realize when we did come over here to America, got shipped and stuff, we start taking you know, what we knew into consideration of how we gonna survive. You know what I mean? So when we did make the greens, we did make the cornbread. We didn't just make it because this is what was given to us. No, we knew things work with certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like basically, like when we was making these this thing, we was mixing the culture in, the African culture in what we had. We didn't just make it and that was
Yeah, there was a lot of experimentation
yeah
with the food that
that's
they saw the white people eating. They
yeah
stylized it, in their own way and made it better,
yeah, but
and maybe put some African
It came
infusion
from
into it.
African culture too. So when you see it in Liberia, it's not necessarily just saying it's Black American food. That's it's not
No,
It's
that's
not
good.
necessarily.
No,
necessarily
I mean,
yeah,
fusion
Carla is saying that because
it's a
it's
fusion
been
of Black
Africanized
American
also.
and African food together. Z, yeah, we
look,
do have sovereignty. That's what we're talking about. See, this is what we're
look,
talking about. Okay, no, hold up. Stop the music. Let me say this right here. Let me answer this clown in the chat room, right? Z, whatever his clown's name is, right? He says African American food. See, they have no respect for Black America. That's what we're talking about. They have fucking respect, no respect whatsoever, right? And then he asked the question: Is you can't have sovereignty? Look, the fucking African continent is my mother continent. Either we are Africans or we're not. That's what it's coming down to. If we're not Africans, then what happens gonna happen is in Black America, I guess the ADOS FBA movement won, and we sever ties with the continent forever. If
It's
we are
it's
Africans,
it's two things. I think people just want us not to be African because we don't identify with the actual land as far as it being our home, or not our homeland, but our you know, our
but
natural
what do you
born
think
land.
about the? What do you think about the fact that right now, you look at Africa right now, these borders were not created with the intent of Africa. These borders that you see right now in Africa are not really authentic African borders that make any sense.
It's only on paper. It's only on paper.
So therefore, what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
yeah, but the thing is, though, people are fighting over. We have a border dispute right here in Liberia right now with Guinea. So people will fight for these
So
borders that were created
what do
by the
you think
Europeans.
about
You know what I'm
Rico
saying?
Miller's questions, Carla? Rico Miller position that you can't have sovereignty in Africa because it's not your land. But if you're given a land, it becomes your land, right? What do you think about
No,
that?
you could be sovereign and be anywhere
Well,
on any
hold on.
level.
It's like this. It's like this. It's like this. It's like this. I never argued for sovereignty because the thing is though, if you have, like I said, it's unfortunate that the average IQ of the African can't understand this, right? If you got the most powerful group of Black people, if you have, let me tell you something. Black America, don't underestimate. Black America is our first world people, a first world people, right? That means our history comes through literature and stuff like that. It goes way deep, right? Those are people that are capable of building a modern civilization and maintain it, right? And maintain it day one, right? The African does not understand that you got all that territory. Why not create a city state like Dubai did with a United Arab Emirates with Dubai? And they basically created, even Dubai's a shithole. And the Asians are doing right now with these smart cities they're building and stuff like that, where they're pulling Asian talent together to build. The African does not think like that. His mind doesn't think like that. There's no inter-African trade. There's no trade between Africa. Shouldn't you have one place on the African continent that's the center of business, trade, geopolitics, and culture, education, everything like that? And basically, where people from the diaspora come and live, the best and brightest from Africa come and live, whatnot. We have everything concentrated in one place. How come the African mind doesn't think like that?
Kala, you must say,
They're still trying to prop
Kala,
up colonial borders. And you know what the thing is? Hold on. Kinola has answered this, right? You know what Africa's external debt is, Elvis?
You said
Africa's
something like
external debt is
hundreds of billions
$700
of
billion.
dollars,
No
right?
way they're going to pay that.
look, Elvis,
Hold on.
Kala,
Hold on. Did you just say that African countries don't trade with each
Hold
other?
on, almost 40%. Almost 40% of everything gross in Africa revenue goes to pay service debt that they're never gonna get out of because the interest of the debt keeps compounding. So I'm saying to
Elvis,
myself, you got people in America, Black America, but keep listening to people like Kidola. Africa's never gonna get any place.
let me tell you something, Carla. You might live in the United States and see it like that. As I said, Black America are not the only slaves they took away. There's a place called Surinamese. Surinamese, some of them came to the the Netherlands, right?
Suriname.
Yes, Suriname. If you come over there and you visit there, sometime I go in.
Where these third world people that
Hold on, hold on, hold
those
on.
are third world,
You
those
talk
are
about third.
third world
You
people.
talk about third
Those are
world. You
third
talk
world
about
people.
third world, but you talk about third world, but Africa cannot relate to your culture. You understand me? Africans cannot relate to your culture. And that's what I try to bring you in right now. That Suriname is Suriname in the Netherlands.
So what?
Cold War.
Hold on.
Hold on, hold on,
You
hold
got
on. Suriname in the Netherlands.
You got white people. You got white people planning on taking over the whole continent. So what are you talking about? They can't relate to your culture either, but they're
There's no
gonna take
white
over
man.
the continent, right?
There's no white man taking over no continent. That's just a dream.
They're already right now. They're already right now telling
If you come, hold on. If
South
you come
Africa
to the
they're gonna
Dutch,
carve off.
if you come to Holland, if you
About,
come
man?
to Holland
Stop with
during,
that nonsense.
if you come to Holland during June, July, they have what we call. These are people that came from all the way. They have what we call Kwaku. Kwaku, when Africans started coming to Europe, they started creating space for Africans to be infused into their festivity also. And the food they cook and whatever they make, they can make like pepper soup. We can say, well, okay, I relate with this. They can make everything. And they will tell
What's
you
that got to do with anything?
that they will tell you this: you people live in a white man
What's that got to do with
world
anything?
and call yourself first class blacks and for whatever you want to call yourself, but that's between you and the white man. An African man can never relate with you people. That's just the truth. You people are far gone. There's no way that we can be kumbaya. No culture. We can't share culture. Culture exchange.
Hold on. Just like Lord, right here in Liberia. I'm in here in Liberia right now. There's a lot of Black Americans here. We're going to Angola, going to Namibia, going all over the place. What are you talking about? There's a large Black community in fucking South Africa right now. What are you talking about? We're carving up the continent, bro, and we're overrunning you. So
You people not carving nothing. You people are just like retirees who came to a place to stay. That just all.
No.
Buy
We
a
got
house
major
and
business.
be there.
Hold on. One thing with you, all you think you have to worry about, Kinola, you're not coming to Nigeria. That's
No.
So
Nigerians are not asking people to come because Nigerians don't have nobody to come. Nigerians are not asking nobody to come. We don't say, oh, come to
yeah, we don't want
to
to
do
go.
what?
That's good because nobody wants to come to Nigeria.
To do
Nobody
what?
wants to
To
come
do
to
what?
Nigeria.
You going to South Africa. You going to South Africa. South Africa said, I see. Why you people coming here? What is going on?
All right. Okay, let me play a video. I'm gonna show you what we're doing in South Africa. Okay, let me show you. All right, let me show you. Let me show you what we're doing in South
There's nothing there.
Africa.
People buy a house and stay and receive a pension from America. That's just all.
There's Black people in America, selling their
You people
houses
don't
for
have
millions of dollars.
you people don't have car. You people don't have no company there. You people don't have car company. You people don't have like boat company. You people don't have restaurants company. You buy a house and stay and get some of your money from the States. That's just all. What you show me just mansion, 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom mansion. Finish. With swimming pool. Or you pour rent there.
No, I'm saying, I'm just searching the video.
Or the military.
Hold on. You got my friend Glenn. Him and his love.
Or the military is pay you people. That's all. If that money runs out, you run away from Africa. You know.
Hey, Kilo, you sound like jealousy to
It's not jealous,
me,
man.
bro.
If your money, if the government of the
Bro,
United States started
like
paying you
jealous.
for your pension, everything, you people will run out, you people will
Sound like
run away from
jealousy to
Africa. That's
me,
just the truth.
bro.
You know, you people will pack your bag and take off. Even abandon the mansion you people build or rent. There's even few anyway, very few. Out of maybe 10,
We're
one
not,
person
we're,
might build a house.
we're not coming. We're not coming to Nigeria. We're coming to good places.
No,
You don't
because
have
we
to worry
don't really
about that.
need
You don't
you
have to worry
people.
about Trump being a shit old country.
You people don't have economical power to do anything in Nigeria. You know, you people don't have the economical power to make a dent in Nigeria. You know,
Yeah, large numbers are in Ghana. You know,
I mean, okay, I'm in Ghana. I'm in there are
so
multimillionaires in Ghana. The people that went to Ghana, let's just be honest. Some build a house, you know, they stay there. Some of them they're retired, some of them they're looking for men. Which of them have a company that run
oh,
in
there's the
Ghana?
young people there opening businesses. These are younger people going there.
Which of them, which businesses that we're not seeing? What kind
I
of
said,
business
who
are they
knows?
opening?
But they help
They just open YouTube business,
the
and
businesses.
when YouTube is not paying well, they start
So,
complaining. Africans are bad people.
why don't you do? Why don't you do your own research? I'm not doing no research for you. You do your own research. Google Black American businesses in
Kala,
Ghana.
Kala, they're, that I said out of 10, maybe
And it'll
one
give
or
you
two
that.
have some kind of business going on there.
And I
That's not
hope you do your.
that doesn't date Ghana economy, you know. And behold, they partner with other Ghanaians as a partner, you know. That's just the truth. They're not the one running the business. They might have come with some money, that they have some Ghanaian investors who also invest with them. You know, that's just the way it goes there.
Well, it doesn't matter. The
You know,
main
you can
thing
see the
is
Lebanese
they're
people.
making moves.
You can see the Lebanese footprint. You can see the
And we
Lebanese
just opened
footprint
up
everywhere.
a magazine called Intergenerational Magazine, which I will be contributing writer.
It's okay. You people don't have the power to change Africa or anything in any country. It's okay. Africans are not asking for that. But let the peace reign. That's just Africa is asking for. You know, is anybody there?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you people don't have people that are rich. Your basketball players are very rich people. You know, what we talk about is the you know, you people are not emotionally attached to that territory. You know, it's different from when you say, okay, I'm from here, but you're not emotionally attached to a place, you cannot do nothing. And I'm emotionally attached to my zone where I'm coming from in Nigeria. Am I emotionally attached to everywhere in Nigeria? No. That's what I just try to say. You know, Black Americans are far gone. 400, 500, that's a long time. They're not emotionally attached to Africa. They have nothing there. If somebody died there, it's not their business. If economy go where it's not their business. They don't even know what is going on there. You know, that's just the truth. You know, I'm far more emotionally attached to the zone I'm coming from than before maybe Lagos, or before I start looking around, oh, other African countries, what is going on there. You know, I've never ever visited Ghana. So I just think I have nothing to do there. So I'm not emotionally attached to Ghana. I might be concerned what's going on in Ghana if people are coming to invade them with different skin color. Not, yeah. Just every sound. I don't know if you understand me. This channel is okay.